Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Facts channel. Tonight we drift into a world that lies just beneath our feet. A quiet realm, woven from threads so delicate you could hold a handful of soil and never know that millions of tiny lives were resting inside it. This is the ancient kingdom of fungi, a place older than forests, older than flowers, older even than the first creatures that walked upon land. It is a world that moves slowly, patiently, almost invisibly. Yet it is also a world that shapes everything we know, from the food we eat to the air we breathe, from the rise of ecosystems to the soft decay that returns all things gently back to the earth. As you settle into this moment, allowing your breath to soften and your eyes to grow heavy, let this calm, hidden universe open around you like a quiet woodland at dusk. Even now, as you listen, a vast network of fungal threads is stretching through the soil somewhere close by, branching outward in loops and lattices that resemble tiny highways of life. These threads, called mycelium, drift through the darkness the way moonlight drifts across still water, silently, steadily, with purpose but without haste. They fill the spaces between grains of sand. They curl around roots. They slip into the hollows of fallen leaves. They do all this in perfect silence, sculpting the world grain by grain. If you could shrink yourself down to their scale, the forest floor would look like a glowing web of living filaments, shimmering faintly with the quiet pulse of metabolism. Every tree, every blade of grass, every decaying branch would be surrounded by these luminous threads, weaving in and out of the soil, forming a living fabric beneath the surface. For most of human history, we didn't know this kingdom existed. We saw mushrooms push up after rain and thought they were tiny plants, delicate umbrellas rising from wood and leaf litter. We did not realize they were only the fruiting bodies, the brief, visible moments of organisms that stretch beneath the ground for meters, sometimes for miles. Much of a fungus lives its life in darkness, hidden from sight, unraveling the world by dissolving wood and breaking apart long-forgotten roots. And yet, without this hidden labor, forests would fill endlessly with fallen leaves, and nutrients would become trapped in lifeless logs. The circle of growth and decay would slow to a halt. Fungi keep everything moving, turning yesterday's leaf into tomorrow's soil. In their patience, they teach us that transformation doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it happens quietly, in the softness of night, without any need for recognition. As you breathe slowly in and out, imagine the scent of rain-soaked earth rising gently into the air. That smell, that warm, familiar exhale after a storm, is partly the breath of fungi releasing tiny spores into the atmosphere. Each spore is unbelievably small, a drifting grain of potential that floats through the air like dust glimmering in a beam of light. Spores wait patiently for the right conditions, a touch of moisture, a bit of shade, a quiet place hidden from the wind. In those still corners of the world, they awaken. One delicate cell reaches out, then another, forming a branching path that begins a new life beneath the soil. These spores have traveled across continents, climbed mountains, and rested in the stillness of winter snows. Some have slept for years before finally stirring. The story of fungi is one of endurance, slow, unhurried endurance, a rhythm that mirrors the quiet rise and fall of your breathing. If you listen closely in a forest, you may notice that it feels somehow connected, as though the trees share a silent understanding with one another. In a way, they do. Mycelium forms threads that link roots together, allowing trees to pass messages and nutrients back and forth. Older trees can nourish younger ones through these underground networks, sharing the strength they have gathered over decades. When one part of the forest suffers drought or disease, the network adjusts, redirecting resources like a soft whisper traveling through the deep soil. This quiet communication has been happening for millions of years, long before humans learned to speak or write or send messages through the air. Fungi have always been teaching the earth how to share. Even above ground, the world of mushrooms feels like something out of a dream. Some glow gently in the darkness, casting a faint green or blue light that shimmers like reflections on a calm lake at night. Others rise like coral from the forest floor, branching upward in soft towers of pink, orange, or ivory. There are mushrooms shaped like delicate cups, others like tiny stars, and still others that curl and ripple like ocean waves frozen in time. Each shape is a quiet solution to a gentle problem: how to spread spores, how to gather nutrients, how to survive in a certain patch of light or shade. Nothing is rushed, everything is purposeful. In the calm rhythm of their growth, mushrooms remind us that beauty can come from slowness, from patience, from being shaped by the world rather than pushing against it. If you were to sit in a quiet forest and close your eyes, you might begin to feel the slow shifting of decay and renewal beneath you. Fallen logs soften over decades. Leaves melt into soil. The forest breathes. Fungi guide all of this, weaving the fabric of life with threads so small they disappear when held to the light. Yet, in their invisibility, they hold power. They shape ecosystems, guide plant growth, and cradle the earliest cycles of life on Earth. Some scientists believe that fungi helped the first plants step onto land, forming partnerships that allowed roots to draw nutrients from barren ground. Without them, the world might still be a silent ocean with no forests to sway in the wind and no soil to cradle seeds. The green world above owes its existence to the quiet world below. And as you lie here listening, letting the soft breath of this moment guide you downward into rest, know that the world of fungi continues its slow, ancient work, dissolving, rebuilding, weaving, remembering. Their rhythm is steady and timeless, a gentle pulse that underlies the forests, the fields, the gardens, and the quiet places where moss grows on stone. In learning about them, we are reminded of the beauty of subtlety, the strength of patience, and the serenity of living in harmony with the cycles that shaped our planet long before we arrived. Let the stillness of this hidden kingdom cradle your thoughts now, soft as a handful of forest soil, warm as the scent of rain on leaves, and quiet as the delicate threads that stretch through the earth, whispering the story of life in the language of silence. 1. The hidden world beneath the forest floor. Beneath the soft carpet of leaves, deep under mosses and roots, there exists a quiet world that almost no one sees. It is older than forests and rivers, older than mountains worn smooth by time. It is the slow, steady world of mycelium, the hidden body of fungi, stretching through the soil like threads spun from moonlight. As you settle gently into your breath, letting each inhale expand softly and each exhale loosen your shoulders, imagine the ground beneath a forest, not as solid earth, but as a living tapestry woven from countless tiny strands. These threads drift through spaces too small for the eye to notice, twining through the darkness in patient, wandering paths. They do not rush or strain. They explore with a quiet curiosity, reaching outward the way roots reach for water, or vines reach toward the sun. Mycelium moves in the opposite direction of light, folding itself deeper into the soil, searching for nourishment in the places where shadows rest. If you could lift a small patch of earth and look closely, you might see faint lines of white glimmering softly beneath the surface. They look like veins, delicate and branching, tracing gentle arcs through the soil. To most people, they appear like thin frost weaving through dirt, but these shimmering threads are alive. They breathe, they communicate, they sense the world around them. When a piece of wood falls to the forest floor, mycelium responds almost immediately. It touches the wood, tasting the chemicals locked within it, recognizing the complex structures of cellulose and lignin that hold the wood together. And then, with patience shaped by millions of years, it begins to unravel those structures, cell by cell, layer by layer. The wood softens. The forest begins its slow return to earth. Mycelium does not work alone. A single network can stretch across an entire meadow, linking tree to tree, shrub to shrub, grass to grass. These connections create a quiet communication system that scientists sometimes call the wood wide web. Through mycelium, a forest shares nutrients, sends subtle chemical messages, and balances its resources like a community that has learned to care for itself. When a tree receives more sunlight than its neighbors, excess sugars can move down its trunk, through its roots, and into the mycelial network, which distributes them to smaller trees struggling in the shade. When a sapling is damaged by insects, its distress signals can travel through these underground threads, alerting nearby plants to strengthen their own defenses. It is a form of cooperation so intricate that it resembles thought, though it does not think as humans think. Instead, the forest feels through its fungal network, responding to the ebb and flow of its needs, with a collective intelligence older than language. Imagine walking through a quiet forest at dusk, the air cool and gentle, the light dimming into a soft blue-gray. Each step presses lightly into the soil, and beneath your feet, an entire world is stirring, though you cannot hear it. The mycelial threads respond to moisture, sensing the dew collecting on fallen leaves. They feel the vibration of raindrops landing hours before the storm fully arrives. They trace the scent of decaying wood drifting through the soil. They know where nutrients lie buried and where roots cross their path. They map their surroundings not with eyes or ears, but with chemistry and touch, dissolving and absorbing, gathering and redistributing. In this quiet darkness, every movement is purposeful, every thread a tiny explorer charting a world that humans rarely imagine. Because mycelium grows outward in delicate branching patterns, it often forms shapes similar to neural networks in the brain or the filaments of distant galaxies. Some scientists compare it to a forest's nervous system, a way for the ecosystem to sense and respond to change. Others compare it to the cosmic web, the structure that links galaxies across vast distances of space. The resemblance is striking: threads connecting nodes, patterns repeating at different scales, complexity arising from simplicity. It suggests that nature enjoys repeating its favorite designs, from the smallest structures beneath our feet to the largest structures in the universe. A quiet symmetry runs through it all, like the matching rise and fall of your breath. Many fungi create sprawling networks that can last for centuries. In some forests, a single organism of mycelium stretches over several square kilometers, making it one of the largest living beings on Earth. Yet it remains nearly invisible, hidden beneath the ground, spreading no faster than the slow rhythm of life allows. Its age does not come from stillness, but from adaptability. It flows around stones, wraps gently around roots, and waits patiently when seasons turn harsh. During droughts, it slows its growth, conserving energy like a sleeping animal. During rain, it awakens, absorbing moisture and drifting outward once more. There is something soothing about the idea of a creature that shapes entire ecosystems, yet moves with the calm patience of a drifting cloud. Mycelium also plays a quiet role in balancing the atmosphere. As it breaks down fallen branches, leaves, and other organic matter, it releases nutrients back into the soil, nourishing plants that will, in turn, breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. Fungi are nature's recyclers, helping the planet breathe over timescales too slow for human senses. Their work is not dramatic or sudden. It is continuous, steady, and dependable, a slow exhale from the forest floor, a rhythmic pulse that supports every living thing above it. In its search for food, mycelium can sense chemical gradients in the soil, guiding its threads towards sources of nutrients. When it encounters harmful substances, it shifts direction, choosing safer pathways. When it finds obstacles, it curls around them with gentle persistence. In this way, the network develops a kind of memory, shaping future growth based on past experience. Though it does not have a brain, it has behavior, intention, and response qualities that blur the line between simple organisms and complex systems. This subtle intelligence reveals itself slowly, like a soft whisper carried on a still night. As you imagine this hidden world, allow your body to settle into the same slow rhythm. Inhale gently, following the path of air entering your lungs. Exhale slowly, letting tension dissolve the way mycelium dissolves fallen leaves. Feel the quiet pulse of your breath, matching the patient spreading of those underground threads. They never hurry, they never push, they simply expand where conditions allow and rest where they cannot. Their entire existence mirrors a lesson whispered by the natural world that growth does not require urgency, and that connection can happen in silence, through gentle contact, without effort or noise. In moments like this, lying still, with your awareness softened, you can almost feel the world beneath you shifting in its faint, ancient patterns. The soil remembers every root it has held, every leaf it has cradled, every rainfall that has seeped into its depths. Mycelium moves through that memory, weaving past and present together, turning the forest floor into a living archive of seasons long gone. And as you drift deeper into this quiet imagining, the hidden world beneath the forest floor continues its patient expansion, soft and steady, as eternal as breath. 2. The mushroom as a moment in time. When you see a mushroom rising from a fallen log or emerging from the damp soil after rain, you are not seeing the full organism. You are witnessing only a brief moment in a much larger, quieter life. The mushroom is a fleeting expression, a temporary structure built with intention, like a soft exhale from the earth itself. It appears when conditions are just right, when moisture, temperature, and darkness align, and then, after a few days or weeks, it dissolves back into the world that created it. As you settle into your breath, imagine that each mushroom you have ever noticed was simply the visible fingertip of a vast, hidden body, stretching beneath the ground, waiting patiently for the precise moment to reveal itself. The true organism, the mycelium, lives for years or centuries, threading through soil and wood with slow, purposeful ease. Compared to this ancient network, a mushroom is like a flower blooming on a tree or a ripple forming on a pond. It appears briefly, accomplishes its task, and fades. But in that short existence, it carries out one of the most important roles in nature. The mushroom is the fruiting body, a structure designed entirely for the creation and release of spores, the tiny seeds of the fungal world. A single mushroom can release billions of spores into the air, creating invisible clouds that drift away on gentle currents. Each spore carries the memory of the organism it came from and the potential to begin a new network somewhere else, perhaps far from the place where it was born. If you imagine the forest floor at dawn, when sunlight filters through the trees in soft, golden beams, you might picture these spores floating through the air like dust illuminated by the first light of morning. They move with such delicacy that even the faintest breeze can send them tumbling upward or spiraling quietly toward the ground. Some land on leaves, some cling to the bark of trees, some drift into streams and glide along the water's surface, and some settle gently into the soil, where the right conditions might allow them to awaken. It is a slow and patient process, a story that unfolds over days or years, But fungi have never been hurried. They work with time the way an artist works with clay, shaping moments gently, letting them settle before moving on. To understand the mushroom properly, you must allow your thoughts to stretch into this longer rhythm. The mushroom is not an isolated object, but the culmination of countless quiet decisions made by the mycelial network. When nutrients are plentiful and moisture saturates the soil, the network senses that the moment to reproduce has arrived. It gathers its internal resources, directing energy upward toward the surface. From the earth, a soft swelling begins, almost imperceptible at first. Then, with the persistence of a heartbeat, the swelling becomes a small dome, pushing through soil or leaf litter. Over hours or days, the dome expands, unfolding into the familiar shape of a mushroom cap. Gills, stem each part a delicate masterpiece, shaped by evolution's patient hand. The cap spreads outward into a gentle curve, designed to shelter the gills that hang beneath it. These gills are the true miracle, thin sheets of tissue lined with cells that produce spores in numbers so vast they are almost impossible to imagine. The gills are arranged not randomly, but with careful geometry, maximizing surface area so the mushroom can release as many spores as possible in its short time above ground. If you were to run your finger lightly along the underside of the cap, something we often do without thinking, you would feel the soft ridges and grooves that carry out this quiet work. In each groove, millions of spores are forming, ready to drift away when the time is right. And yet, despite this incredible productivity, mushrooms appear fragile. They bruise easily, they wilt in sun, they collapse after heavy rain. They melt into soft puddles over the course of a single warm day. But their fragility is part of their purpose. They are not meant to endure. They are meant to release, to disperse, to transform. Once their spores have lifted into the air, the mushroom's body becomes unnecessary. Mycelium below ground absorbs what remains, recycling the nutrients so that nothing is wasted. In this way, the mushroom's short life nourishes the organism that created it, feeding the network that will one day send up new fruiting bodies in new places. Think for a moment about how many mushrooms go unnoticed in a forest. Many are so small that they resemble tiny pearls of dew resting on a blade of grass. Others are hidden beneath leaves or tucked into cracks in old logs. Some are translucent, nearly invisible except for a slight shimmer when the light touches them at the right angle. Others are brilliantly colored reds, oranges, yellows, blues like small lanterns glowing in the dimness of the forest floor. Each one, no matter how simple or elaborate, is the product of a long chain of quiet processes that began deep underground. The diversity of shapes mushrooms take is astonishing. Some look like umbrellas, others resemble coral pulled from the sea. Some cluster together in delicate shelves along tree trunks. Others spread like stars across the ground, their arms unfolding in soft spirals. These forms are more than beautiful. They are functional. Each shape influences how spores are released, how rainwater runs off, how air currents flow between gills and pores. Every curve and angle is a response to conditions that fungi have encountered over millions of years. The mushroom's design is not extravagant but efficient, a quiet harmony between purpose and form. As you rest here, breathing slowly and evenly, imagine a mushroom emerging from the earth in slow motion. First, a small, rounded tip pushing upward, then the cap unfurling, like petals opening in the early morning. The gills beneath appear, patterned and perfect. The stem lengthens just enough to lift the cap into the right position to catch the air. For a moment, a brief, beautiful moment, the mushroom stands at the height of its purpose, releasing spores like invisible constellations drifting across the forest. And then, just as softly as it appeared, it begins to fade back into the earth, returning its borrowed nutrients to the soil, feeding the mycelium that will continue to weave through the darkness below. In this cycle, The mushroom teaches a gentle lesson about presence. It appears when the moment is right. It fulfills its purpose without striving. And then it lets go, dissolving gracefully into what comes next. There is no struggle in its brief existence, only rhythm, only acceptance, only the soft unfolding and soft returning that mirrors the rise and fall of your breath. As you drift deeper into the calm of this moment, imagine a forest after rain, the air cool and fragrant, the leaves glistening with droplets. All around you, mushrooms rise like quiet notes in a slow, earthy song. They appear and disappear with the same grace as dreams, reminding us that even the smallest moments can be complete. Even the briefest lives can shape the world. They are not just organisms, but gestures of the forest, fleeting expressions of a deeper, hidden intelligence that moves in silence beneath your feet. 3. The mycelial web that connects the forest. Beneath the quiet rustle of leaves and the soft hum of wind weaving through branches, there exists a hidden architecture that binds the forest into a single living tapestry. It is not made of wood or stone, not of roots or water, but of threads so slender that a single human hair would appear thick beside them. These threads, known as hyphae, gather and braid themselves into mycelium, the sprawling subterranean network that supports the life above. As you settle into an easy breath, imagine this unseen web stretching outward beneath every step you might take in a forest, connecting tree to tree in a silence so complete that even time seems to move more slowly around it. In this underground world, communication happens not with sound or light, but with chemistry. When one tree receives more sunlight than its neighbors, its roots release sugars into the soil, gifted freely into the mycelial network. The fungus carries these sugars to other trees that grow in the shade, helping them remain strong even when light is scarce. In return, the darker, deeper trees with access to rich minerals pass those nutrients back into the same fungal threads. There is no hierarchy here, no competition in the way humans think of it. Instead, there is balance, a quiet reciprocity that keeps the forest thriving. Even now, as you breathe, the forest breathes with you, exchanging what is abundant for what is needed, through filaments that move like whispers across the earth. Scientists sometimes call this the wood wide web, a name that captures the vastness of the network, but not its beauty. To imagine it properly, picture a night sky filled with constellations, each star connected to another by glowing pathways of pale light. Now turn that image upside down, press it into the soil, and let it stretch for miles in every direction. That is the mycelial web, a star map beneath the forest floor, guiding the flow of nutrients, information, and life itself. Every root that touches the network becomes part of the greater whole. Every plant that joins it begins to send its own tiny messages across the threads. The forest is no longer a collection of individual trees, but a community shaped by cooperation and shared memory. The mycelial web does more than move nutrients. It senses the world around it, with a patience that mirrors your slow, quiet breathing. When a tree is damaged by insects, its roots release distress signals into the soil. The mycelium detects these signals and transmits them to nearby trees, prompting them to produce defensive chemicals before the insects reach them. When drought comes, the network shifts its resources, carrying water to areas that need it most. It expands in some regions and contracts in others, always responding, always adjusting. Its intelligence is not like ours. It does not think with a brain, does not reason with logic, but it learns through connection. Each interaction shapes the next, just as each slow inhale shapes the gentle rhythm of your exhale. Imagine a forest where rain has recently fallen, the ground still cool and damp beneath the canopy. The soil is soft underfoot, and beneath that softness lies a world stirred awake by moisture. Mycelium thrives in these moments, pushing outward in delicate waves, following the faint traces of nutrients left behind by decaying leaves. These threads do not move quickly. They drift, feeling their way with chemical sensitivity, branching and dividing in patterns as natural as veins flowing through a leaf. They wrap gently around roots, offering minerals in exchange for sugars. They slip between grains of sand, like tiny explorers mapping out the landscape. In every direction they stretch, forming pathways that bind together plants that will never meet above the surface. Some trees are older than others, ancient giants that have stood through storms and summers and the slow, steady passing of seasons. These elder trees often serve as hubs in the mycelial web, receiving and distributing resources to the younger trees around them. In this way, the wisdom of age is woven into the forest, allowing new life to flourish under the gentle guidance of trees that have weathered centuries. Mycelium acts as the bridge between generations, carrying the essence of strength and resilience from one part of the forest to another. Even the smallest plants benefit from this vast network. A tiny sapling, barely taller than a blade of grass, may appear vulnerable and alone, but beneath the soil, it is connected to the same intricate web that supports towering pines and ancient oaks. Through the mycelium, it receives nutrients it could never gather alone. The forest lifts it gently, quietly, through interconnected generosity. This shared support mirrors the softness of your own breath as it rises and falls, reminding you that strength is often unseen and that life is shaped not only by sunlight and rain, but also by the quiet partnerships that exist in the dark spaces beneath our feet. There are moments when the mycelial network becomes a guardian, protecting the forest from imbalance. Some plants release toxins that would harm others, but the mycelium senses these dangers and redirects resources away from the threat. In other cases, the fungus itself releases compounds that neutralize harmful substances in the soil, preserving the integrity of the ecosystem. It is as if the forest has built within itself a silent caretaker, one that watches over every part of the system with unspoken devotion. To imagine the movement of signals through the mycelial network, picture a gentle ripple expanding across a still pond at dusk. Each ring travels outward, touching everything it encounters. The water does not rush. It accepts and carries the motion with calm simplicity. The fungal threads beneath the forest behave in much the same way, transmitting information through subtle waves of chemistry that flow from root to root. Even though the forest does not speak with sound, it never stops communicating. There is an ongoing conversation beneath the soil, a dialogue woven through millions of threads, shaping the quiet harmony of life above. In the deepest parts of the forest, where sunlight filters through the canopy in slender beams, the mycelial web grows thick and interconnected. Here, decomposition and growth happen side by side. A fallen tree becomes a cradle for new seedlings. A decaying stump feeds the roots of nearby saplings. The mycelium binds it all together, ensuring that nothing is wasted, that every life becomes part of another. The forest is a living cycle, a continuous exchange of energy, and the mycelial web is the thread that keeps the pattern intact. As you breathe softly, imagine your awareness drifting downward through the soft layers of earth. Beneath the roots and rocks, beneath the insects and layers of leaves, the mycelial network glows in soft, pale patterns, branching endlessly, pulsing gently with life. It is quiet, but not still. It is hidden, but not absent. It works in silence, but its influence shapes everything above. The forest you see is only half the story. The other half rests in the darkness, patient and enduring, weaving connections that make life possible. The mycelial web reminds us of the quiet power of connection, how strength is shared, how resilience is built, how communities survive not through isolation but through gentle, steady exchanges. As you drift deeper into the calm of this moment, Imagine the forest exhaling with you, its hidden networks expanding and contracting with each breath, a living mirror of your own quiet rhythm. And beneath that shared breath, the mycelial web continues to weave its ancient patterns, forming the soft, unseen foundation of the world. 4. The slow, patient work of forest renewal. In the quiet heart of every forest, where fallen leaves gather in soft golden layers and old branches rest beneath them like sleeping limbs, there is a constant process unfolding that is almost too gentle to notice. It is not the work of wind or rain, though both play their part. It is the work of fungi, slow, patient, and utterly essential. As you settle into a calm breath, imagine the forest floor as a vast blanket made of seasons layered upon seasons. Each leaf, each fallen twig, each patch of moss, and each piece of bark carries the memory of past summers and winters. Nothing here is wasted, nothing is forgotten. And it is fungi that guide this transformation, turning what has fallen into nourishment for what will rise again. Decay might seem like a simple process, something that happens automatically when time has passed and nature has moved on. But in truth, decay is a choreography subtle, intricate, and deeply coordinated. When a leaf drops from a tree, it begins as a whole, crisp and delicate, filled with the structures that once helped it drink sunlight and breathe the air. Yet as it touches the earth, its journey changes. Moisture softens it, the once sharp edges curl inward, and soon mycelium threads begin to explore its surface, sensing the complex molecules within. These threads are not aggressive. They do not tear or break. Instead, they gently dissolve, releasing enzymes that loosen the leaf structure, breaking it down into small pieces that the fungus can absorb. In this slow unraveling, something beautiful happens. The nutrients that were once locked inside the leaf, carbon, nitrogen, minerals, are released back into the soil. They do not stay where they fall. The mycelium guides them through the earth, delivering them to roots that need them. A tree that shed the leaf months before may receive those nutrients again, completing a cycle that has repeated for millions of years. In this way, the forest feeds itself. What appears to be loss becomes sustenance. What falls away becomes foundation. The forest is never truly diminishing. It is always renewing. Now imagine a fallen log resting quietly among the ferns. Its surface is rough and patterned, softened by rain, moss, and time. Inside, it is a world unto itself, filled with tunnels left by insects and hollow spaces created by age. Mycelium reaches into these hollows, weaving through the wood with gentle persistence. The tree that once stood tall is still alive in another form, serving as shelter, food, and soil in progress. Fungi break down the complex lignin and cellulose that rigidify wood compounds almost no other organisms can touch. This is a task that requires patience, measured not in days or weeks, but in years, sometimes in decades. Yet even in this long work, the fungi do not hurry. They move at the tempo of the forest, unhurried and unpressured, working in harmony with rain, wind, and shade. As you breathe softly, imagine tracing a hand along that fallen log. In one sense, you are touching a piece of history, something formed decades or even centuries ago. But in another sense, you are touching the future soil, the nutrients that will feed the next generation of trees. The log is not simply decaying, it is transitioning, gently shifting from one form of life to another. The fungi that live within it are caretakers of this transformation, guiding each step with quiet precision. Not all decay happens on the forest floor. Sometimes a branch falls high in the canopy, caught among other branches. Sometimes fungi invade a living tree, not with destructive intent, but as part of the forest's complex balance. Weak branches, damaged roots, or wounded trunks invite fungi that help break down the damaged tissue. This process prevents the spread of disease and makes space for new growth. Even the standing dead tree's snags become homes for birds, insects, and small mammals. And within them, mycelium spreads in intricate spirals, turning the once living wood into a vessel for new life. In this quiet interplay, decay and creation dance together, inseparable partners in the forest's eternal rhythm. When you walk through a forest, you might notice patches of rich, dark soil beneath your feet. This soil did not appear overnight. It is the result of countless cycles of decay, each one carried out by fungi working steadily over centuries. The forest floor is a mosaic of past lives. Leaves that once shimmered in sunlight, branches that once reached toward the sky, flowers that once opened to bees in early spring. All of it has been gently transformed by fungal hands. The soil is soft because the forest has been slowly braided into it, strand by strand, memory by memory. In this slow transformation, fungi also create patterns of stability. They bind soil together, preventing erosion. They form networks that hold moisture during dry seasons. They guide nutrients to specific plants, helping maintain balance in the ecosystem. Without fungi, the forest would grow uneven, favoring only the strongest trees. But fungi ensure that every plant has a chance to thrive, distributing nutrients like an ancient, impartial steward. This quiet balance mirrors your own breath, equal parts letting go and gathering in, a gentle exchange that keeps everything alive. There are moments when decay reveals unexpected beauty. Some wood, touched by particular fungi, becomes streaked with blue, green, or gold. This is sculpting nature's gentle art, painted not with pigment but with the chemistry of fungal pathways. The patterns twist like rivers on a map or lightning etched in slow motion across the grain. Even in decomposition, the forest expresses wonder. It shows that endings can be luminous, that change can be creative, that the softening of structure can create beauty that was hidden before. In tropical forests, where rain falls often and life bursts forth with abundance, decomposition happens almost as quickly as growth. Leaves fall and vanish within days, transformed by fungi into fertile earth that feeds the next wave of life. In colder forests, where winter slows everything down, decay is more gradual. Logs linger for decades, mosses gather on their surfaces, and fungi move through them with deliberate care. But whether quick or slow, wet or dry, warm or cold, the work is the same. The forest is always becoming itself again. As you rest in this moment, feel the quiet reassurance this process offers. Nothing in nature is truly lost. Nothing simply ends. Everything shifts, softens, and finds its way back into the arms of the world. Even the smallest leaf that falls is not forgotten. It is welcomed, embraced by the patient threads of fungi, and turned into nourishment for life yet to come. The forest's renewal is a reminder of your own cycles, how you shed thoughts, habits, moments, and memories, and how each release creates room for something new. Allow yourself to breathe with the same gentle acceptance. With every exhale, imagine letting go of a fallen leaf. With every inhale, imagine receiving the quiet nourishment of fresh soil. Slowly, steadily, the forest teaches you that change is not something to fear. It is something to soften into, something that makes space for renewal, just as fungi make space for new life in the peaceful hush beneath the trees. 5. The soft glow of mushrooms in the night. In the stillness of the forest after dusk, when the last threads of daylight slip behind the trees and the world settles into its quiet breathing, there are places where a faint glow begins to shimmer beneath the canopy. It is not the light of fireflies drifting through the warm air, nor the reflection of stars shimmering in pools of water. It is something quieter, something older, something born from the hidden workings of fungal life. Bioluminescent mushrooms, tiny lanterns grown from soil and wood, cast their gentle radiance into the darkness, illuminating the forest floor with a glow so soft it seems woven from starlight. As you ease into this moment, let your breath match the calm rhythm of that subtle light, a glow that pulses not with urgency, but with the slow, ancient heartbeat of the earth. These glowing mushrooms do not blaze or flicker. They offer a green or blue luminescence that feels more like moonlight resting on the surface of the earth. Some brighten only the edges of fallen branches. Others glow along the veins of decaying leaves. A few shine from within the bark itself, so faintly that one must lean close and let the eyes adjust to see their silent luminescence. This phenomenon is known as foxfire, though its name echoes myths and old stories from cultures around the world. Some believed it was the work of spirits wandering the woods. Others thought it was the residue of fallen stars. But in truth, this glow is part of the quiet chemistry of fungi, a natural radiance created through reactions within their cells. To understand the glow, imagine a mushroom nestled into the soft darkness of night. Within its tissues, a molecule takes in oxygen and undergoes a tiny transformation, releasing energy as light instead of heat. It is a perfectly controlled emission of photons, similar to the glow of fireflies, though created through a different set of reactions. This gentle light allows the mushroom to shine without burning, to glow without fading too quickly, to exist as a quiet beacon in the forest's nocturnal hush. There is something soothing about this idea that a living being can create light simply by existing, not to dazzle or overwhelm, but simply to participate in the moment. The reasons for this glow vary among species. Some mushrooms use their light to attract insects that will spread their spores. Others glow only in their mycelium, illuminating the wood they inhabit. Still others seem to glow without any clear purpose, as though the light is a remnant of ancient chemical pathways that remain from earlier times in evolution. Yet whether functional or incidental, the glow offers a sense of wonder to anyone patient enough to witness it. It feels like the forest is breathing light from inside its own bones, revealing its inner world in the gentle hours of night. Imagine walking through a humid forest in midsummer. The air is thick with the scent of earth and moss, and the ground beneath your feet is damp with recent rain. As your eyes adjust to the growing darkness, faint glimmers begin to appear, small points of light scattered among fallen logs and leaf litter. If you kneel down and sweep away a few leaves, the glow might brighten, spreading across the surface of decaying wood like a soft constellation. You might notice that the brightest glow often occurs where the fungus is most active, where the mycelium is digesting wood and releasing nutrients into the soil. The light is a hint of the energy moving through those hidden threads, a quiet exhale of chemical transformation. This glow is not constant. It shifts with humidity, temperature, and the age of the fungus. Newly formed mycelium often glows most brightly, radiating its pale light with a vibrancy that gradually softens as the wood breaks down further. It is a slow fading, like the dimming of embers in a hearth. In some species, the fruiting bodies, the mushrooms themselves, shine softly like miniature lanterns. In others, the mycelium alone glows, hidden beneath bark or soil, turning the interior of fallen logs into chambers of quiet light. If you place your hand gently on the surface of such wood, you cannot feel the light, but you can sense the warmth of the earth, the pulse of decay that feeds life above. The glow of bioluminescent mushrooms is ancient. Fossils suggest that fungi have been producing light for tens of millions of years, long before humans walked the earth. This means that forests once glowed in the night with even greater abundance, their floors dotted with pale lights that shimmered beneath towering prehistoric trees. Perhaps early mammals, creeping silently along the forest floor, saw these lights as guides in the darkness. Perhaps the first humans to explore nighttime forests noticed the glow, and wove stories about it around their fires. And now, even in modern forests, the glow remains, unchanged in its quiet purpose. There is something deeply comforting in the thought that fungi humble, hidden, patient, have kept the night glowing for so long. Their light is not meant to dominate, it is meant to accompany. It is the kind of light that encourages rest rather than wakefulness, the kind of light that invites contemplation rather than action. As you breathe in this moment, imagine that glow inside your mind as a soft, calming presence, an inner lantern that brightens gently with each inhale and dims with each exhale. Never harsh, always soothing. The glow of mushrooms also reveals the interconnectedness of the forest. When mycelium glows from within a decaying log, it signals that the fungus is actively transforming that wood into nutrients that will feed roots, mosses, insects, and even other fungi. The light is not only a visual phenomenon, it is a reminder of the constant flow of energy within the forest, moving from fallen trees into soil, from soil into plants, and from plants into the animals that depend on them. The glow is a quiet symbol of renewal, a soft metaphor for the way life continues in cycles barely noticed by those who pass through quickly. Sometimes the glow appears in unexpected places, inside caves where fungi grow on damp ceilings, along tree roots exposed by erosion, or deep within rotting logs hidden beneath layers of forest debris. In these hidden spaces, the light seems almost sacred, as though the forest is revealing a secret meant only for those who pause and look closely. The glow does not seek attention. It invites you to slow down, to breathe, to let the stillness of the night settle into your bones. If you imagine spending a night in a forest where bioluminescent mushrooms grow, you might picture the ground glowing softly around you, casting the faintest emerald light across your hands. The trees above would rise like dark silhouettes against the night sky, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The air would be filled not with noise, but with the absence of it, a quiet so deep that the rustle of a small animal would feel like a moment of companionship. The mushrooms, glowing in their patient stillness, would offer a sense of safety, of timelessness, of connection to the ancient rhythms that shaped the world long before cities and clocks existed. As you rest here, let that imagined glow soften your thoughts. Let it illuminate the quiet spaces in your mind where tension gathers, dissolving it with the same gentle chemistry that dissolves wood into soft soil. Let the light spread slowly within you, not brightening, not demanding, just existing, steady, calm, and harmonious. In the glow of bioluminescent mushrooms, the forest reveals a truth that feels almost like a lullaby. Even in darkness, there is gentle light. Even in decay, there is beauty. Even in stillness, there is life quietly continuing, breathing, glowing, unfolding at a pace that asks nothing of you but to rest. 6. The ancient journey of spores through air and time. In the gentle quiet of morning, when mist hangs low across the forest and the world feels suspended between breath and stillness, millions of tiny travelers drift unseen through the air. They move without sound, without weight, without urgency. These are fungal spores, the ancient seeds of a kingdom older than the first fern, older than the earliest insect, older even than the soil that now carries them. As you settle into a calm breath, imagine the atmosphere around you, filled with these miniature wanderers, suspended like dust in a sunbeam, carried by breezes, rising on warm currents, or settling softly onto the earth. They travel not with intention, but with openness, ready to awaken when the world offers just the right invitation. A single mushroom can release billions of spores in its short life, each one no larger than a grain of pollen, each one a tiny capsule of possibility. When you see a mushroom standing quietly after rain, you may not realize that an invisible cloud is rising from its gills, drifting upward each time a soft breeze passes through the forest. Some spores break away easily, the slightest tremor sending them into flight. Others wait for more moisture, or for the warmth of a passing animal, or for the tremble of a raindrop landing on the cap. And once they leave their parent mushroom, their journey begins, a journey not directed by maps or instinct, but by the soft currents of nature itself. Spore release is a delicate and precise process. Within the gills of a mushroom, each spore forms on the tip of a tiny cell and detaches at just the right angle to catch the faintest movement of air. Even the humidity of the forest helps guide them, the shifting moisture creating the perfect balance of surface tension to lift them away. If you could watch this process up close, it would look almost like the exhale of a sleeping creature, gentle and rhythmic, a soft pulse of breath that sends life drifting outward. Spores do not rush. They float, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. Some ride upward on warm air rising from the forest floor. Others travel downward on cooler currents. Some spiral gently around the trunks of trees before settling into a place they might one day call home. Not all spores stay close to where they were born. Many travel far, carried by winds that cross mountains, oceans, and continents. These tiny, almost weightless particles are so durable that they can survive long periods of dryness, cold, heat, and even ultraviolet light. They can drift high into the atmosphere, sometimes rising above the height of clouds, where winds push them across vast distances. In this way, a mushroom in one forest might send its descendants to places it will never know: faraway hillsides, distant valleys, even isolated islands born from volcanic stone. Spores are the quiet nomads of the natural world, traveling without haste, yet capable of reaching places no root or branch could ever touch. Some spores land in places hostile to growth, on barren rock, in salty marshes, on sun-scorched ground. Yet even there, they wait. A spore can remain dormant for years, tucked into the folds of a fallen leaf or the crevice of a tree's bark. It may be awakened by a sudden rainstorm, or by the warmth of a passing season, or by the slow gathering of organic matter around it. In its stillness, it carries patience. It carries memory. It carries the blueprint of the fungus it came from, holding tightly to possibility until the moment conditions whisper, now. When that moment arrives, the spore opens, like a single thread unfurling from a hidden coil, reaching outward into the soil to begin the next chapter of the fungal life cycle. Imagine kneeling in a forest and lifting a handful of dark, rich soil. Within that handful, countless spores may be resting, some newly fallen, some decades old, some perhaps even older than the trees that surround you. The soil is not just earth, it is a library of dormant futures. Spores lie among grains of sand, among fragments of leaf and bark, among tiny spaces shaped by insect tunnels. They are waiting for moisture, for shade, for the subtle touch of nutrients. When the rains arrive and sink into the earth, the spores awaken in waves, their threads weaving through the soil like whispers of pale light. From these first threads, mycelium spreads, anchored in the memory of the parent, yet carrying its own journey forward. There are spores that drift on the surfaces of lakes and rivers, carried along by currents toward distant shores. Others cling to the feathers of birds, hitching rides across migration routes that span continents. Some attach to the fur of animals, or slip into the cracks of bark where insects will later carry them to new places. A few even travel inside insect bodies, protected until they are released in soil far from where they began. Spores have adapted to every mode of travel the natural world offers. They have no eyes, no wings, no muscles. Yet they move through the world with a grace that seems almost effortless, guided not by intention but by a deep attunement to the rhythms of wind, water, and time. Spores also play a quiet role in the atmosphere itself. Some scientists believe that spores help shape clouds, acting as tiny seeds around which water droplets gather. In this way, fungi may influence rainfall patterns, participating in the weather cycles that sustain forests, fields, and entire ecosystems. It is a delicate partnership, the earth giving rise to spores, the spores helping shape the sky returning water to the earth. Each part of this cycle relies on the others, forming an elegant loop that repeats across ages. There is a quiet resilience in spores that mirrors the resilience found in yourself. Just as spores endure long periods of stillness before awakening into growth, there are moments in life when you, too, must rest in your own potential, waiting for the right conditions to arise. The world is full of these rhythms, cycles of release, drift, pause, and rebirth. Spores embody this wisdom so simply that it becomes easy to overlook. But when you slow down and imagine their journey, you can feel the gentle truth they hold. That growth often begins in silence, and that possibility can be carried through unimaginable distances before finding its place to root. And so, as you settle deeper into the calm of this moment, picture the night sky above a quiet forest, high above the treetops. Spores are drifting, unseen, among particles of dust and droplets of vapor. Some will fall back to earth, some will rise higher still, some will disappear into the vastness of the atmosphere, carried beyond any horizon. But each one carries life inside it, life that is patient, gentle, and unhurried. Let that image settle into your thoughts like a soft cloud of spores. Let it remind you that even the smallest things can travel far. Even the quietest moments can hold immense potential. And even the unseen currents of your life can guide you toward the place where you are meant to grow. 7. The quiet partnerships living within plants. Deep within the tissues of leaves, roots, and stems, far from the sunlight that warms the canopy and the breezes that stir the branches, there exists a world of quiet partnerships. These partnerships are not visible to the human eye. They do not sway like grasses in the wind or glow like bioluminescent mushrooms in the night. Instead, they unfold in microscopic intimacy, a gentle mingling of fungal threads and plant cells, woven together so closely that neither life form can truly be separated from the other. These fungal companions are known as endophytes, fungi, that live inside plants, forming relationships as old as the first forests on Earth. As you settle into your breath, slow and quiet, imagine the stillness inside a leaf, a peaceful, green chamber where tiny fungal threads rest like soft breathlines of life. Endophytic fungi do not damage the plants they live within. They are not intruders or invaders. Instead, they form alliances, subtle, cooperative arrangements that benefit both partners. The fungus receives shelter, a safe place to live within the plant's tissues, protected from the harshness of the outer environment. In return, the plant receives defense, nourishment, and resilience. These fungi help the plant respond to stress, fight off disease, and survive in landscapes that challenge even the toughest species. Together, they form a quiet companionship, a bond of mutual support that unfolds silently inside every leaf and root. If you imagine holding a leaf in your hand, a simple green leaf warmed by sunlight, you might picture it as a thin sheet of cells arranged like a mosaic of tiny chambers. But within that leaf, in spaces too small for even the finest microscope to fully reveal, endophytic threads sprawl gently between cells, weaving through their boundaries without disrupting their function. They move slowly, drifting through the plant's interior like dancers, tracing soft arcs in a still room. Their presence is subtle, their touch light. They do not invade, they inhabit. They do not take, they share. It is a kind of co-living, a quiet interdependence, shaped by millions of years of evolution. Sometimes these endophytic fungi help plants survive drought. When water becomes scarce and roots tremble with thirst, the fungi activate certain chemical pathways within the plant that reduce stress, helping it retain moisture and maintain strength. They adjust the plant's physiology from the inside, like a gentle whisper reminding it how to endure. In other situations, the fungi help protect the plant from harmful bacteria or viruses, releasing antimicrobial compounds that stop pathogens before they can spread. Even insects can be deterred by the chemicals produced by endophytes. A caterpillar chewing through a leaf may suddenly encounter a bitter taste that causes it to drift away, unaware that a hidden fungal partner created the warning signal. Imagine a plant standing in a meadow where dry winds sweep across the landscape. Its leaves tremble, its roots strain deep into the earth, and its tissues begin to feel the heat of the day rising. Yet inside, the endophytes remain calm, signaling the plant to conserve water, strengthening its cell walls, helping it endure the discomfort. These fungi do not panic. They do not flee. They offer stability, steadiness, and quiet guidance, a partnership that allows the plant to weather what it might not have survived alone. Not just drought, but other environmental stresses can be softened by these inner companions. In cold climates, endophytes help plants withstand freezing temperatures. They shift the plant's metabolic processes just enough to prevent ice from forming inside delicate tissues. In soils with low nutrients, they help the plant extract what little is available, extending microscopic threads into the surrounding earth to gather minerals that roots alone could not reach. They act as extensions of the plant's body, expanding its senses and capabilities, helping it learn the language of the world around it. This partnership can be so profound that some plants cannot live without their fungal companions. Certain grasses rely entirely on endophytes to survive grazing herds and changing seasons. Some trees harbor specific fungi that help them thrive in rocky, nutrient-poor environments. Even desert plants, enduring harsh sunlight and extreme dryness, depend on endophytes to regulate their internal systems. The fungus becomes part of the plant's identity, woven into its responses, its growth, its ability to flourish. Imagine a towering tree, perhaps a pine or an oak, standing solemn and strong in the forest. Beneath its bark, deep within its tissues, endophytic fungi live in quiet harmony. They sense changes long before the tree itself can detect them. When an insect begins to nibble at a leaf, the fungi help the tree produce defensive chemicals. When the winter chill deepens, the fungi help adjust the tree's resilience. When the soil shifts, dries, or floods, the fungi communicate with roots, coordinating responses that help the tree survive. These tiny companions, hidden from view, are guardians as much as they are partners. It is easy to think of plants as solitary beings standing quietly in fields, forests, and gardens, rooted in place, growing according to sun and soil. But in truth, they are ecosystems in themselves, filled with microscopic communities that support, sustain, and protect them. The plant's body is not one organism, but a partnership of many, a collaborative harmony that allows it to thrive in landscapes where challenges never cease. Endophytes also influence how plants interact with the world above ground. In some cases, they affect how plants smell or taste, altering the chemical signatures that attract pollinators or deter herbivores. In others, they help repair tissues damaged by storms or predators. Their presence turns the plant into a more adaptive, flexible entity, one capable of responding to the world with subtlety and intelligence. As you breathe softly, imagine the inside of a leaf once more. Picture the gentle glow of sunshine filtering through its surface, illuminating the thin network of veins that carry water and nutrients. And alongside this natural architecture, Imagine the faint, delicate threads of fungi resting in the quiet spaces between cells. They are not visible, but they are present, like a calming thought that settles into your mind and steadies the rhythm of your breath. They do not disturb, they do not demand, they simply coexist, offering small gifts of resilience and protection. The relationship between plants and endophytes is a story of trust, shaped over millions of years. No contract binds them, no spoken agreement. Only the gentle truth that when life shares its space, both partners can flourish beyond what they could achieve alone. This is the essence of symbiosis, a reminder that strength often comes not from standing alone, but from the quiet connections that support us from within. As you drift deeper into relaxation, think of the forest as a great congregation of partnerships. Every tree, every blade of grass, every fern and flower carries within it a world of tiny fungal companions. These endophytes whisper to their hosts, strengthen them, protect them, help them listen to the changing conditions of earth and sky. They form invisible alliances that shape the resilience of entire landscapes. And just as the plants draw strength from these quiet companions, you too can find comfort in the unseen supports woven through your own existence, the memories, relationships, and moments of quiet care that live within you, shaping your resilience gently, silently, moment by moment. 8. The delicate geometry of mushroom gills. If you ever pick up a mushroom, turn it gently in your hand, and look beneath its cap, you will find a world of delicate architecture hidden from casual sight. The gills, those thin radiating blades, arranged like the pages of a tiny book, form one of nature's most intricate designs. As you settle into an easy breath, imagine leaning in close beneath the quiet canopy of a forest, holding a small mushroom freshly lifted from the soil. Its gills reveal themselves in fine, symmetrical lines, each one so thin that it seems almost drawn with a whisper. Their arrangement is not accidental. It is geometry shaped by millions of years, crafted for one purpose: to release spores in the gentlest and most efficient way possible. Gills are the mushroom's silent factories, where billions of spores develop, mature, and take flight into the world. Each gill houses cells that produce spores with extraordinary precision. And yet, from the outside, the structure appears simple, just slender blades radiating outward, like the spokes of a wheel or the grooves of a gently turning seashell. But within each gill, thousands of microscopic events unfold every moment. Spores form on tiny stalks, detach when they are ready, and drift into the quiet spaces between gills before floating away with the faintest breath of air. If you hold a mushroom carefully and tilt it in soft light, you might see the faintest sheen reflecting off these gills, a reminder of the life teeming within their narrow lines. The arrangement of gills maximizes surface area, allowing mushrooms to produce astonishing numbers of spores in a very small space. Picture a dome-shaped cap gently sheltering hundreds of these fine, blade-like ridges. If the surface beneath the cap were smooth, the mushroom could release only a fraction of the spores it now produces. But the gills multiply the available area many times over, offering a landscape where millions of spores can form side by side. Nature has chosen this design not for beauty, though it is beautiful, but for practicality. And yet, there is a quiet poetry in the way those thin lines fold into one another, creating patterns that feel both deliberate and serene. As you breathe slowly, imagine tracing your finger lightly along the underside of a mushroom's cap. You might feel nothing but a soft texture, perhaps a cool smoothness, perhaps a slight fragility. But beneath your fingertip lie vast structures filled with life. These gills are so delicate that a single careless touch can bruise them, altering their color or slightly compressing their form. Some mushrooms bruise blue, others brown, others release a faint scent when pressed. All of these reactions are part of the gill's sensitivity, a reminder that even though they are strong enough to produce billions of spores, they are fragile in their physical form. Not all mushrooms have gills, of course. Some have pores, ridges, or smooth surfaces that release spores. But the majority use gills, a design so elegant and efficient that it appears again and again in species separated by vast evolutionary distances. This suggests something profound, that the thin, radiating lines of the gills are one of nature's favorite patterns, a solution to a problem solved so perfectly that it hardly needed to be changed. Other organisms echo this pattern too. Coral branches into fine grooves, leaves form their veins. Even the ridges on your fingertips resemble the gentle arcs and repeating lines in mushroom gills. It is as though the geometry of gills exists across nature as a whisper shared among life forms, a soft reminder of interconnected design. As the mushroom matures, the gills shift subtly in color as spores ripen. A young mushroom may have pale, nearly white gills that darken over time to soft pinks, browns, or even deep purples, depending on the species. Each color reflects the state of the spores and offers clues to their readiness. A single breath of wind can carry thousands of spores away from these gills, creating invisible clouds that drift upward before settling gently to the forest floor. Even when you cannot see the spores, they are there, forming a soft dust in the air, a gentle rain of microscopic potential. If you imagine standing near a fallen log where mushrooms grow in clusters, you might picture their caps lifting like small umbrellas after a rainfall. Beneath each one, the gills form a quiet labyrinth. When sunlight filters through the trees and touches the underside of a cap, the gills glow faintly in soft patterns, their lines casting delicate shadows on the forest floor. If a breeze passes through, spores slip from the gills, drifting upward like dust motes in a sunbeam. The forest breathes them in. The air carries them onward. This cycle continues without sound, without urgency. Gills do not force the spores out. They merely create space for them to fall away naturally. In this stillness, the mushroom teaches a lesson that release does not require effort, only readiness. When conditions are right, when the spores have matured, when the air is still enough, they simply detach, drift, and continue their part in the quiet story of the forest's renewal. Some mushrooms have gills so closely spaced that they form delicate pleated patterns reminiscent of fine fabric. Others have broad, widely spaced gills that spread like the rays of a rising sun. Some even have gills that fork or split, branching into intricate networks that look almost like rivers on a map. Each species arranges its gills differently, yet the purpose remains the same: to maximize the space for spores to develop and find their way into the world. If you were to magnify a single gill, you would see an entire landscape: ridges, valleys, tiny cells with specialized structures. It would look like the terrain of a distant planet, filled with slopes and ridges designed for one function. You would see droplets of moisture clinging to the surfaces, forming tiny beads that aid in spore release. You would see microscopic channels guiding airflow. You might even see spores detaching from their cells, lifting like soft particles of dust into the narrow spaces between gills before drifting outward. The perfection of this design is quiet but profound. A mushroom does not move, yet it releases its spores with a precision and efficiency rivaling any living creature. It does not breathe, yet it uses the humidity and temperature of the surrounding air to shape the timing of spore release. It does not see, yet it senses light and moisture in ways that influence the development of its gills. It is a master of quiet engineering, guided by millions of years of patient refinement. As you breathe gently, imagine the soft hum of the forest, all the rustling leaves, the quiet footsteps of small creatures, the distant murmur of wind. Beneath that soundscape, The gills of countless mushrooms are carrying out their quiet work. They are producing, releasing, and renewing life without fanfare or attention. They do not demand recognition. They simply exist, performing their purpose gracefully, harmoniously, with a serenity that mirrors the rhythm of your own breath. Let your thoughts settle into the calm geometry of mushroom gills. Let their repeating patterns soothe the folds of your mind. Imagine each gill as a breath line, each line a gentle pull inward or a soft release outward. In this quiet symmetry, the forest reveals one of its most beautiful truths, that even the smallest structures, hidden beneath the cap of a humble mushroom, can shape the vastness of life through the simplest of patterns, repeated again and again with patient devotion. 9. The slow intelligence of mycelium. Far beneath the leaf litter, where roots weave through dark soil and stones rest undisturbed for decades, there is a kind of intelligence that moves without haste. It has no brain, no nerves, no single place where thoughts begin or end, yet somehow it learns, it remembers, it solves problems. This is the quiet intelligence of mycelium, the vast, branching network of fungal threads that moves through the earth with gentle purpose. As you ease into your breath, let yourself imagine the slow, careful way these threads explore the world, sensing, responding, and adapting with a calm that feels almost meditative in its rhythm. Each hypha, the tiny filament that forms the basic unit of mycelium, is capable of sensing chemicals, moisture, and obstacles. Alone, a single hypha is delicate and simple. But when thousands, millions, or even billions of them join together into a network, they create an organism that behaves almost like a diffuse mind. Decisions, if we can call them that, are not made in a central place. Instead, they emerge from the collective behavior of countless threads interacting with their environment. If the soil is dry in one direction, the mycelium shifts its growth toward a wetter region. If nutrients are abundant in one patch of decaying wood, threads converge, concentrating their efforts. If a toxic substance lies ahead, growth slows or retreats. This is not instinct. It is response, subtle, nuanced, and surprisingly coordinated. Imagine walking through a forest and standing beneath a great old tree. Beneath your feet, unseen but ever present, the mycelial network extends for meters or miles, weaving through soil like fine, pale lace. If you could lift the entire forest floor and look at it from below, you might see the glowing outline of this network branching outward in all directions, like the nervous system of a massive organism. Each tip of each thread is feeling the environment, tasting the chemistry of the soil, sensing where growth is possible and where resistance waits. It is a constant sensory dance, guided by gradients so faint that only a fungal cell could detect them. Yet from these faint signals, the mycelium shapes its path with remarkable precision. Scientists have conducted experiments showing that mycelium can navigate mazes, choose efficient paths between food sources, and even solve challenges that resemble puzzles. When presented with two pieces of wood placed at different distances, mycelium grows more quickly toward the closer one, as if estimating distance. When paths are blocked, it reroutes its growth to find a new route, demonstrating a flexibility that many simple organisms lack. In some studies, mycelium even seems to remember past obstacles, avoiding areas where nutrients were scarce or where toxins were previously encountered. These behaviors reveal a form of intelligence that does not require neurons or synapses, but arises from the collective behavior of a living network. Picture a long, fallen log lying quietly on the forest floor. Rain has dampened its surface, and the smell of moss rises softly around it. Inside the wood, invisible to your eyes, the mycelium is mapping its surroundings. It sends tendrils into cracks, around knots, beneath bark, tasting the variations in density and nutrient content. When it finds a rich pocket of material, perhaps where a branch once grew, it concentrates its energy there. When it encounters wood too tough or dry to break down, it retreats, sending more exploratory threads in different directions. This process unfolds not in minutes or hours, but slowly, steadily, in a rhythm that mirrors the long breaths of the forest itself. Mycelium's intelligence also reveals itself in the way it communicates with plants. Through chemical signals, it can warn trees of pests or drought. It can help balance nutrient distribution across different parts of an ecosystem. In return, the plants supply the fungus with sugars. This exchange is not random. The fungus allocates resources in a way that maximizes mutual survival. It might divert minerals to a young sapling struggling in shade, or water to a tree enduring a dry season. These actions reflect a kind of responsiveness, a distributed problem-solving ability that transcends the boundaries of a single organism. Mycelium is not merely reacting, it is coordinating. As you breathe softly, imagine the slow spread of these threads through the soil. They move like whispered thoughts drifting through a quiet mind, branching and merging, forming pathways and abandoning them, stretching toward the promise of nourishment. The pace is unhurried, more like the shifting of clouds than the scurry of insects. Mycelium measures time, not in seconds, but in seasons. It grows with the patience of deep earth, guided by signals too subtle for human senses to detect. This pace teaches a gentle lesson. Intelligence does not need to be quick to be effective. Mycelium's knowledge accumulates slowly, through countless interactions with its environment. It remembers the shape of the soil. It learns which roots offer the richest exchange. It senses when a tree is stressed and shifts its flow of resources. This kind of intelligence is woven into its very structure. It doesn't need to think. It simply responds with increasing sophistication as its network expands. Imagine a vast forest after a fire. The ground is blackened, and the air carries the faint scent of ash. The plants above may be gone or damaged, but beneath the soil, mycelium often survives, lying dormant in the safest pockets of earth. As rain returns and the soil cools, the mycelium awakens slowly, sending threads outward to reclaim its territory. It senses charred wood and begins breaking it down, transforming burnt remains into nutrients that will nourish new seedlings. It collaborates with pioneer plants, species that can grow quickly after disturbance. It forms new partnerships, establishing a fresh network that will guide the forest's regrowth. In this way, mycelium becomes the memory of the forest, holding knowledge of past conditions and shaping the future landscape. Some researchers believe mycelium can anticipate changes in its environment before they occur. It may sense shifts in moisture or temperature that signal an approaching storm. It may adjust its growth patterns in anticipation of resource scarcity. These subtle predictive behaviors show how deeply attuned the network is to its surroundings. The forest is not a static place, but a constantly shifting mosaic of conditions. And mycelium navigates these changes with a sense of foresight that emerges from its interconnected design. If you imagine the mycelial network as a great web spread across the forest, you might picture each intersection of threads as a point of awareness. When one part of the network encounters a new nutrient source, chemical signals travel outward, guiding growth elsewhere. When a region becomes dry, signals move in the opposite direction. The network is always adjusting, always recalibrating. It is not conscious, but it is aware. It does not plan, but it adapts. It does not think, but it learns. Let your breath mirror this quiet intelligence, slow, steady, adaptive. With each inhale, imagine the mycelium sensing its environment, expanding gently into open space. With each exhale, imagine it retreating from obstacles, conserving energy, redirecting its growth toward more promising paths. In this rhythm, you can feel the profound calm that defines fungal intelligence. A calm that does not fear change, but flows with it. A calm that does not rush, but trusts the slow unfolding of time. As you drift deeper into this reflection, the mycelium continues its ancient work beneath the forest, weaving patterns of knowledge through the soil. It carries the memory of decades, the potential of seasons yet to come, and the wisdom of life lived slowly and attentively. And in its quiet intelligence, the forest finds its balance, its resilience, and its endless capacity to renew. 10. Lichens and the quiet art of living together. In the stillness of a forest morning, when the air is cool and the world feels washed clean by dew, you may notice patches of soft color clinging to stones, tree trunks, and fallen branches. These gentle shapes, sometimes leafy, sometimes powdery, sometimes crusted like delicate mosaics, are lichens, one of nature's most peaceful partnerships. They do not sway in the breeze like grasses or sparkle in the sunlight like water. They grow slowly, silently, and with a patience that spans centuries. As you settle into a quiet breath, imagine a rock warmed by early sunshine, its surface softened by a thin layer of lichen that has lived there longer than any animal nearby, older than the trees themselves. Lichens are not a single organism, but a union, a partnership between fungi and tiny photosynthetic companions, usually algae or cyanobacteria. Together they form a composite being, a life woven from cooperation. The fungus provides structure and protection, creating a safe, moist shelter. The alga, or cyanobacterium, gathers sunlight and produces food through photosynthesis. Neither organism can thrive in the same way alone, but together they create something new, something that embodies the strength of both and the vulnerability of neither. This quiet collaboration is one of the most successful strategies in the natural world, allowing lichens to inhabit places where almost nothing else can survive. Imagine a high mountain cliff, exposed to harsh winds and freezing temperatures. Snow covers the ground for half the year. The soil is thin, the air so cold that only the hardiest organisms endure. Yet on the rocks, patches of golden, green, or blue-gray lichens cling with gentle tenacity. They do not fear cold, for the fungus protects its photosynthetic partner from freezing. They do not fear drought, for lichens can dry completely, becoming crisp as parchment, and awaken again with the first touch of moisture. In this ability to pause life and resume it later, they echo a kind of patient wisdom, a willingness to wait, to rest, to trust that conditions will eventually favor growth. This slow resilience is like the rhythm of your own breath when it deepens and softens, steady, even during moments of discomfort. Lichens grow not only on rocks, but on tree trunks, fence posts, rooftops, and even the backs of slow-moving animals. They appear in deserts where rain may fall only once every few years. They spread across tundra, turning the frozen earth into a soft tapestry of muted colors. They live on volcanic rock, newly formed from molten stone, becoming some of the first settlers on land where life is just beginning to take hold. Wherever harshness exists, lichens quietly make a home. They are among Earth's oldest pioneers, carving pathways for ecosystems to develop where previously there was only barren landscape. Imagine a piece of bark covered in pale green and blue lichens. If you look closely, you might see circular forms that resemble tiny islands. Each island has its own texture and color, some rough and granular, others smooth like thin petals. Together, they form a small community, a miniature world where the fungus and algae live in harmony. The fungal layer protects the algae from intense sunlight, ensuring they receive just enough light for photosynthesis. In turn, the algae provide sugars that nourish the fungus. It is a beautifully balanced exchange, neither taking more than it needs, both giving exactly what the other requires. This gentle coexistence allows lichens to survive for an astonishingly long time. Some species are believed to live for hundreds of years, others may endure for thousands. In Arctic regions, lichens grow so slowly, sometimes less than a millimeter per year, that entire colonies can become living records of ancient climates. Scientists study their growth rings, their chemical makeup, and even the pigments within their tissues to learn about past seasons, past atmospheres, and the long rhythms of Earth's history. A lichen becomes not only a living being, but a keeper of memory, anchored to the stone or tree that supports it. As you breathe softly, imagine the slow pace at which lichens grow. Picture a single lichen spreading outward over a rock, expanding only a fraction of a millimeter each year. It doesn't hurry. It doesn't strive. It simply follows the rhythm of moisture and sunlight, growing when conditions allow and resting when they do not. Life, for a lichen, is not a race. It is a quiet unfolding, a steady presence, a testament to what can flourish when beings learn to live together instead of apart. The colors of lichens are as gentle as their pace. Some appear in soft shades of mint green, their surfaces powdery like pastel chalk. Others glow in golden hues, bright as autumn leaves against the bark of an old oak. Some are charcoal gray, forming crust-like patterns that blend into stone. Others blush in shades of rose, violet, or pale turquoise. These colors shift with moisture. A dry lichen may look dull and brittle, but when touched by rain or dew, it brightens, softens, and seems to return to life. This transformation mirrors the way your mind brightens when nourished by rest, quiet, and breath. Lichens also help create soil, one of the most fundamental building blocks of ecosystems. As they grow on rock, their fungal acids slowly break down the surface, forming cracks where dust, water, and organic matter collect. Over decades, these cracks deepen, turning into pockets of soft earth. In time, these pockets allow mosses, grasses, and small plants to take root. In this way, lichens shape the landscape slowly, carving the earliest steps toward life, even in places where none existed before. Their patient work is a reminder that creation often begins with the smallest, quietest processes. Even in bustling forests, where life moves more quickly, lichens play a role. They absorb moisture and release it gradually, helping stabilize the humidity of their surroundings. They provide shelter to minute creatures, tiny insects, spiders, and microscopic organisms that live among their folds. They signal the health of the environment, absorbing pollutants from the air and reflecting changes in atmospheric conditions. Their presence is a whisper of balance, a sign that the ecosystem around them is functioning in harmony. As you breathe, imagine the forest through the perspective of a lichen. Time moves differently. A day is a moment of sunlight. A year is a quiet expansion across a surface. A century is a slow shifting of color and shape as the world changes around you. There is no rush, no urgency, only the gentle pull of growth and the soft release of rest. The partnership that defines a lichen becomes a reminder of the partnerships in your own life, those quiet bonds that support you, nourish you, and help you flourish in ways you might not fully see. The story of lichens is ultimately one of harmony. A fungus and an alga, separate beings, choose to share their existence so completely that they become one. They blur their boundaries until the distinction between them is no longer a division, but a unity. And in that unity, they find the strength to live in places far too harsh for either to survive alone. As you drift deeper into calm, imagine a quiet rock face at dusk, its surface softly patterned with lichens. The light fades, the world grows still, and yet the lichens remain steady, patient, coexisting in perfect balance. Their presence reminds you that strength is often quiet, that cooperation is a form of wisdom, and that life, at its most enduring, is built not from competition but from the gentle art of living together. 11. Survivors of extremes, fungi at the edges of the world. In the furthest reaches of our planet, where winds howl across icy plains and deserts lie silent beneath scorching suns, life persists in ways that seem almost impossible. These are places where water is scarce, where temperatures swing wildly, where the soil is thin or absent. And yet, even in these harsh environments, fungi quietly endure. They cling to stones in frozen tundras, burrow deep under desert sands, and wait patiently beneath Antarctic ice. As you ease into a slow, grounding breath, imagine these remote landscapes, vast, quiet, and otherworldly, and picture the tiny fungal threads that call them home. In the coldest parts of the planet, fungi live in ways that challenge our understanding of survival. On the icy surfaces of Antarctica's dry valleys, where almost no plants grow and temperatures drop far below freezing, fungi merge with algae to form lichens that can withstand months of darkness and cycles of intense ultraviolet radiation. These lichens cling to rocks with a grip that feels almost determined. When sunlight returns after long winter nights, they awaken slowly, absorbing light even when temperatures remain below freezing. Their cells contain protective pigments that shield them from radiation and antifreeze-like compounds that prevent ice crystals from tearing them apart. In this slow, deliberate endurance, they reveal how deeply life can adapt when given time and trust in its own resilience. Imagine kneeling near a cold rock in Antarctica. The wind is crisp and biting, and the world feels almost empty. But on that rock, a patch of lichen clings, a small island of life, centuries old, its colors muted but steady. It grows so slowly that a patch no wider than your hand might be older than entire human civilizations. Its survival depends on patience, on the ability to pause without fading, to enter dormancy during the coldest and driest months, and to awaken gently when conditions change. In this rhythm of stillness and renewal, the lichen mirrors the calm rise and fall of your own breath. In deserts, fungi employ a different strategy. Beneath the surface of sun-baked sand, where temperatures can soar during the day and plummet at night, fungal spores lie dormant for years or even decades. They wait for rare moments of rain, brief periods when moisture seeps into the ground and awakens them. When rain arrives, even for a few minutes, the spores spring to life, forming thin networks that spread quickly through damp sand. They digest organic material that has accumulated over time: dead roots, fallen leaves carried by desert winds, the remnants of small animals. These fleeting moments of activity allow the fungi to gather resources before drying out again and slipping back into dormancy. Some desert fungi associate with hardy plants, forming partnerships that help both organisms survive. The fungus extends its threads deeper into the soil than roots can reach, collecting moisture and nutrients from hidden pockets of dampness. In return, the plant shares sugars with the fungus. This quiet exchange allows life to flourish where conditions seem too extreme for growth. The desert reveals that survival is not only about endurance, but also about connection, about finding strength in shared resources, about trusting a partner to provide what the environment withholds. High in the mountains, where the air thins and temperatures drop sharply, fungi inhabit cracks in rocks and the narrow soils between alpine grasses. These fungi face intense sunlight during the day and freezing cold at night, yet they thrive by producing melanin, a pigment that acts like a natural shield, protecting their cells from ultraviolet radiation. Some fungi even grow on the surfaces of glaciers, darkening patches of ice with their pigmentation and feeding on microscopic debris carried by the wind. They live where oxygen is scarce, where water exists mostly in frozen forms, and where nutrients are limited. Still, they persist quiet, steady survivors anchored in landscapes that challenge the limits of life. Imagine standing on a mountaintop at sunrise. The air is crisp, thin, and quiet. Beneath your feet, the soil is shallow, dotted with small plants and lichen-covered stones. Within the cracks of these stones, fungal threads rest like faint brushstrokes painted across the mineral surface. They do not seek abundance. They need only a small amount, just enough light, enough moisture, enough organic matter to sustain their slow growth. Their survival is gentle rather than forceful, shaped by efficiency rather than speed. Even deep under the earth, fungi find ways to live. In caves where sunlight never reaches, fungi grow on mineral surfaces, feeding on tiny traces of organic material. They form pale, ghost-like mats on walls and ceilings, sometimes glowing faintly in the beam of a passing flashlight. Their world is shaped by darkness and silence, by humidity that clings to stone, and by steady temperatures that never waver. These fungi move slowly, yet their persistence turns caves into living galleries where delicate patterns of growth reflect the cave's subtle rhythms. Fungi have even been found thriving in environments created by humans, but hostile to most forms of life. Spaces filled with intense radiation, chemical waste, or heavy metals. Some species grow around nuclear reactors, absorbing radiation rather than being harmed by it. Others colonize surfaces contaminated with toxic substances, breaking down chemicals that few organisms can tolerate. Their adaptability is astonishing. It suggests that fungal life is not limited by the boundaries that confine many other organisms. Instead, fungi expand their reach, exploring niches that appear inhospitable, thriving in silence where others fail. As you breathe deeply and gently, imagine the resilience that allows fungi to survive across these extreme landscapes. Their strategies are not rushed or desperate. They follow the slow logic of life shaped by ancient time. They wait when conditions are harsh. They awaken when the moment is right. They use minimal energy. They accept cycles of hardship and renewal with calm presence. In doing so, they mirror the quiet wisdom of resting when needed and growing when supported, a rhythm that echoes through your own life. Fungi at the edges of the world remind us that endurance does not require force. It requires adaptability. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to grow in unexpected places, to remain present even when conditions feel challenging, and to trust that moments of renewal will eventually arrive. They show us that life can flourish not only in comfort but in adversity. That strength can take the form of softness, that even in the harshest landscapes of the planet, beauty still emerges, slowly, quietly, and with remarkable grace. And as you settle deeper into this moment, let yourself feel the calm persistence of these fungi living on ice, in deserts, on mountaintops, in caves. Their quiet resilience becomes a reminder that you, too, can endure, adapt, and grow, even in the most challenging seasons of your own life. 12. Threads of renewal in fire-scarred forests. When a forest burns, the world seems to pause in a moment of stark transformation. Flames sweep through branches and undergrowth, leaving behind charred trunks, silent soil, and the faint scent of smoke drifting through the cooling air. What was once green and vibrant becomes darkened and still. Yet beneath this quiet aftermath, hidden from sight, something ancient and patient begins its work. Fungi, those subtle architects of renewal, awaken in the ashes, guiding the first steps of recovery. As you ease into a slow breath, imagine a forest after fire. The air warm, the earth blackened, and beneath the surface, millions of tiny threads, stirring, sensing, preparing to rebuild what was lost. Fire can feel like an ending, but fungi know it as a beginning. They do not fear the heat or the change it brings. Many fungal species are adapted to fire, their spores waiting dormant in soil until the flames open the landscape. When the heat passes and the earth cools, these spores germinate, sending out delicate hyphae that weave through the ash-rich soil. They find nourishment in the charred remains of plants, breaking down what fire could not consume. In this way, they become the first living presence in a landscape that seems lifeless at first glance. Imagine walking through a burned forest just days after a fire. The ground underfoot is soft with ash, each step leaving a quiet imprint. The trunks of trees rise like dark pillars, their bark cracked and peeling. The air smells of smoke and cooling embers. Yet if you could see beneath your feet, beneath the charred soil and fallen branches, you would find a network of fungal threads stretching outward in pale, intricate webs. These threads are exploring, absorbing, transforming. They are not discouraged by the destruction above. They take what remains and begin the work of renewal. Some fungi thrive specifically in post-fire landscapes. Their spores are activated by the heat, cracked open by the intensity of the flames. Others respond to chemicals released by burning wood, signals that tell them the time to grow has arrived. These fungi often fruit quickly, producing mushrooms that rise from the ashes in surprising abundance. Fire morels, for instance, appear in great clusters after forest fires, their honeycombed caps pushing up through soot. They grow where the landscape looks barren, reminding us that life follows closely behind destruction, emerging with quiet persistence. As you breathe softly, imagine the slow movement of mycelium through burned soil. It traces the contours of roots that once stretched into the earth, exploring spaces still warm from the fire's passing. The heat has opened cracks in the soil, creating new pathways for fungal threads to enter. Nutrients released by burnt stems and leaves become fuel for growth. The soil, enriched by minerals freed from ash, offers a unique richness that fungi transform into forms that young plants will one day need. The mycelial network does not simply digest what remains. It prepares the landscape for return. As fungi break down charred wood and plant matter, they release nutrients vital for new seedlings. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. They restructure the soil, helping it regain its capacity to hold water. They create microhabitats, where spores of moss and seeds of pioneer plants can settle and sprout. In this quiet labor, fungi serve as the unseen gardeners of the forest, shaping conditions so life may return. Imagine a tiny seed landing on the blackened soil. To the human eye, it may seem unlikely to survive, but beneath that seed, fungal threads are already working. They form symbiotic partnerships with the seed's emerging roots, offering nutrients in exchange for sugars once photosynthesis begins. These early relationships allow seedlings to grow faster than they could alone. In harsh post-fire environments, this support can mean the difference between survival and failure. Fungi extend the reach of the seedling's roots, helping it access pockets of moisture deep in the soil. Together, they form one of the first green signs of recovery. Within a year of a fire, forests often display a remarkable patchwork of new growth. Ferns unfurl delicate green fronds. Fireweed rises in bright pink waves. Young saplings reach toward the sky. All of this early resurgence is supported by the fungal networks beneath. Trees that burned may sprout new shoots from their bases, guided by fungal partners that support their regrowth. Even when the forest canopy is gone, the underground community persists, carrying memory and resources forward. As you breathe in, imagine the forest a few years after fire. Charred trunks still stand, but the ground is covered in soft greens and patches of wildflowers. Mushrooms appear in clusters near fallen logs, their caps glistening with morning dew. Each fruiting body represents a network below vast, interconnected threads that have been working tirelessly to reshape the soil. With every exhale, imagine the forest settling deeper into its renewal, guided by the ancient rhythms of fungal life. Fungi also play a role in preventing erosion in post-fire landscapes. After intense fires, soil can become loose, easily swept away by wind or rain. But mycelium binds the soil into stable structures, holding it together with microscopic threads. This stabilization allows water to penetrate gently, reducing runoff and creating better conditions for plants to root. In this way, fungi not only rebuild the forest, but protect it from further damage. Their work extends beyond the visible. Many trees rely on mycorrhizal fungi species that form intimate connections with their roots to survive. In burned forests, these fungi often survive in deeper soil layers, waiting for roots to return. Once young plants begin to grow, the mycorrhizal fungi reconnect with them, forming vast underground partnerships that help the entire forest community recover. The network, once fragmented by fire, begins to reweave itself, thread by thread. Imagine the quiet power of this process. No noise, no urgency, only steady, consistent renewal. The forest does not force itself to heal. It heals because fungi take the first step, preparing the ground in silence. This gentle resilience mirrors the way your mind and body recover from challenging moments, not through sudden leaps, but through slow, quiet rebuilding that happens beneath the surface of awareness. In time, the forest becomes whole again. Trees rise where saplings once stood. Leaves form dense canopies. Birds return, building nests among the branches. Animals wander through the revitalized underbrush. And though the fire has reshaped the landscape, it has not defined it. Life has returned richer, more diverse, supported by the ancient patience of fungi. As you settle deeper into this calm, let the image of a fire-scarred forest renewing itself remind you of your own capacity to heal. Even when parts of your life feel burned or broken, there are quiet processes unfolding beneath the surface, slow, steady transformations supported by internal resilience. Just like the fungi beneath the ashes, small, unseen strengths are working to rebuild your foundations, preparing the ground for new growth. In the hush of this moment, you can trust in that calm renewal, knowing that restoration begins quietly, patiently, and always with hope. 13. The quiet intelligence of interconnected life. If you close your eyes for a moment and imagine the forest as a single living being, you may picture the sway of its branches, the shifting of its shadows, the rise and fall of its seasons. But beneath that visible world, something even more intricate exists, a slow, steady intelligence woven through soil and roots, carried along the delicate threads of mycelium. This intelligence does not speak in words. It does not form thoughts the way the human mind does. It communicates through chemistry and touch, through subtle exchanges of nutrients, through the patterns of growth that shape how life unfolds. As you take a quiet breath, imagine leaning close to the forest floor and sensing this gentle pulse of connection, an intelligence not centered in one being, but shared among many. Every tree, every plant, every patch of moss participates in this quiet network. The mycelium linking them behaves almost like a vast neural system, though it has no neurons. When one part of the network encounters a change, more moisture, less light, an insect's bite, it sends signals through its threads. These signals move as chemical messages, shifting the behavior of the organisms connected to it. A tree attacked by insects sends distress messages into its roots. Mycelium receives those messages and relays them to neighboring trees, which then strengthen their own defenses. This is not panicked communication. It is steady, measured, a response refined by millions of years. Imagine a grove of trees standing in a circle. Above ground, each one seems to live alone. Their trunks reach upward individually, their branches spread separately across the sky. But below, their roots intertwine with fungal threads that act like delicate strands of communication. When one tree suffers, the others feel its signals. When one thrives, the network distributes its excess resources. This interconnected intelligence helps the forest function as a single organism, each part influencing the whole, each whisper of chemical information shaping the next moment of growth. Scientists who study these networks often discover patterns that resemble the structure of the human brain. The mycelium forms nodes where threads branch and reconnect, creating hubs that distribute resources and information. These hubs change over time, adapting to the needs of the forest. When nutrients are scarce, the network reorganizes itself to search for more. When conditions shift, the threads redirect their growth with surprising coordination. It is not consciousness as humans understand it, but it is a form of awareness, gentle, distributed, and deeply connected to the breathing world around it. As you breathe calmly, imagine this awareness moving through the soil like a slow, shimmering wave. It does not rush, it does not force. It adjusts itself with the same patience that guides your breath. Each inhale a gathering of energy, each exhale a release. The network expands where life flows easily and quiets where obstacles arise. Its intelligence is not sharp or fast. It is soft, persistent, and kind. One of the most remarkable aspects of fungal intelligence is its memory. Though mycelium does not store memories the way a brain does, it carries impressions of past experiences in the structure of its network. When it encounters a path rich in nutrients, it thickens those threads, reinforcing the root for future growth. When it meets toxins or dryness, it withdraws, leaving behind faint traces that guide it away from those regions later. These decisions are not made consciously. They are made through pattern and response, quiet learning etched into the delicate architecture of the threads. Imagine a single hypha, one slender filament, encountering a piece of decaying wood. It tastes the chemical signals, senses the nutrients, and begins to grow toward the source. More threads follow, weaving around one another like strands of silk. The network thickens. Weeks or months later, if the mycelium encounters a similar patch of wood, the memory of that pattern guides its movement. It grows more efficiently, more directly, as if recalling a map drawn not with ink but with living cells. This intelligence also influences plants in ways we are only beginning to understand. When a seedling begins to grow, the mycelium senses the chemicals released by its young roots. It responds by forming a partnership, wrapping its threads gently around the root tips. Through this connection, the fungus shares water and minerals, helping the seedling grow stronger. The seedling, in return, shares sugars produced through photosynthesis. This exchange is not transactional in the human sense. It is more like two beings breathing together, one offering what the other lacks, both thriving because of the connection. As time passes, the seedling becomes a young tree. Its roots stretch deeper into the soil. Its branches reach upward, catching sunlight in their leaves. And all the while, the mycelium continues to support it, guiding nutrients to the places that need them most. The network becomes an extension of the tree's senses, allowing it to feel the world beyond its roots. If drought arrives, the mycelium signals the tree, prompting it to conserve water. If nutrients appear in a distant patch of soil, the mycelium helps the tree reach them. The tree is both itself and part of something larger, a single being within a greater intelligence. This quiet connection extends beyond species, linking entire communities into shared networks. Different fungi connect different plants, forming vast webs that thread through the soil of forests, meadows, and grasslands. These webs shift with the seasons, expanding and contracting like lungs. In winter, the network slows, conserving energy. In spring, it awakens, sending threads outward as plants return to life. Each cycle reinforces the bonds that hold the ecosystem together. As you breathe gently, imagine your own body as a network of connections, the thoughts that travel through your mind, the sensations that move across your skin, the rhythm of your heart. They are all part of a system communicating within itself. Just like the forest, your internal world has its own intelligence, shaped by experience and guided by subtle signals. The fungal networks beneath forests mirror this internal landscape, reminding you that life's intelligence is not confined to quick thoughts or deliberate actions. It can be slow, quiet, and distributed through connections you cannot see. When storms sweep through a forest, toppling trees and shifting soil, the mycelial network adapts. It reconnects broken threads, forms new pathways, and redistributes nutrients to help the community recover. In this way, it becomes both memory and healer, carrying the history of the landscape while preparing it for the future. The forest grows resilient through this shared intelligence. Its strength does not lie in any single tree, but in the relationships among all of them. Imagine walking through such a forest. The ground beneath you feels soft, alive with invisible threads. The trees around you stand tall, their leaves rustling in the breeze. Birds call in the canopy. Sunlight filters through in gentle beams. And beneath it all, the fungal network hums in silence, guiding the exchange of life with steady persistence. You may not see it, but you are walking across a vast intelligence, one that has shaped ecosystems for millions of years. As you settle deeper into calm, let this idea of interconnected intelligence soften your thoughts. You are not separate from the world around you. You are woven into a larger tapestry of relationships, some visible, some hidden, all essential. Like the mycelium beneath the forest, your connections shape your resilience, your growth, your sense of belonging. And in this quiet understanding, you can rest, trusting the slow, gentle intelligence that lives within all forms of life. 14. Shapes born from silence, the strange and gentle forms of mushrooms. If you wander through a forest after rain, when droplets cling to leaves and the air feels freshly washed, you will notice that mushrooms appear like quiet guests emerging from the earth. Some stand tall with classic umbrella-shaped caps. Others resemble coral rising from the ocean floor. Still others twist into strange spirals, stars, cups, bells, and lattices, shapes that seem born from imagination rather than soil. As you settle into a slow, easy breath, imagine kneeling down in the soft light of a forest morning and turning your attention to these forms, each one a soft expression of life shaped by time and patience. Mushrooms are not bound by the strict symmetry of flowers or the rigid geometry of crystals. Their forms are guided by subtle forces: moisture, temperature, air currents, and the hidden architecture of their mycelial networks. A mushroom's shape emerges from the quiet dialogue between these factors, unfolding slowly as the organism grows. The result is a diversity of forms unmatched by almost any other group of living beings. And yet, despite this variety, each shape serves a simple, universal purpose: to support the creation and dispersal of spores, allowing the fungal life cycle to continue. Imagine a classic mushroom, with a round cap and a sturdy stem. The cap protects the delicate gills beneath, shielding them from harsh sunlight and heavy rain. The stem lifts the cap into the air, giving spores enough space to fall freely. Its form is functional, but its elegance feels natural, as though shaped by the forest's breath. Now imagine another shape, a coral fungus, branching upward like tiny white flames. Its many branches provide countless surfaces for spore production. turning its entire structure into a delicate forest of microscopic factories. Both shapes accomplish similar ends, yet each is a unique response to the environment's subtle influences. Some mushrooms look like tiny stars scattered across fallen leaves. They open their arms slowly, revealing spores nestled inside. Others resemble delicate cups, their surfaces collecting dew in the early morning light. These cup-shaped fungi rely on raindrops to help disperse their spores. When a drop falls into the cup, it sends spores outward in gentle sprays. Far from being simple forms, these shapes reflect millions of years of quiet experimentation, where fungi learn to use water, air, and light to continue their lineage. As you breathe softly, imagine discovering the strange lattice of a basket's stinkhorn, its delicate cage-like structure rising from the forest floor, glowing softly in the filtered sunlight. The pattern is impossibly intricate, like a piece of handcrafted art grown in silence. And yet it forms naturally, without direction, without intention. The lattice allows air to flow through, carrying the spores more efficiently. Its beauty is a byproduct of function, shaped by the slow wisdom of evolution. Then there are the Earth star's fungi that begin as simple spheres hidden beneath the soil. When rain moistens the ground, their outer layer folds outward into star-shaped rays, lifting the inner spore sac above the earth. With each footstep, each raindrop, each whisper of wind, the spore sac releases tiny clouds of spores through a small opening at the top. The rays serve not only as support but as sensors, responding to humidity and movement. They are quiet sculptures shaped by the gentle rhythms of weather. Imagine the texture of a chanterelle, its wavy edges curling upward like the rim of a softly cast bell. Its folds are not true gills, but ridges that guide raindrops and airflow in ways that support spore dispersal. Its golden color glows warmly in the dim light of the forest. Holding a chanterelle feels like holding a moment of sunlight, made solid, a piece of the forest's warmth, captured in delicate form. Some mushrooms twist and turn in spirals, their caps curling like petals caught in motion. Others flatten into discs so wide that they resemble plates resting on the forest floor. Some grow in layered tiers along the sides of trees, each shelf acting as a platform for spore release. These shapes are not random. They emerge from the interplay of growth rate, humidity, and the gravitational pull that guides the direction of tissue expansion. Gravity, in particular, plays a subtle role. Mushrooms grow upward even when their mycelium spreads sideways or downward. Their forms stretch toward the sky, guided by a slow, steady sense of direction. As you settle deeper into calm, imagine the forest at dusk. Soft shadows gather beneath trees, and the air cools gently. Mushrooms that were hidden in daylight begin to reveal subtle details in the fading light. The soft fuzz on a velvet cap, the translucent thickness of a jelly fungus, the faint luminescence of a bioluminescent species glowing like a tiny lantern. In this dim light, shapes become more dreamlike, more mysterious. They seem to rise from the soil as if they were thoughts materializing from the quiet mind of the earth. Even the smallest mushrooms show remarkable variety. Some are no larger than a grain of rice, with slender stems barely thicker than a hair. Others form tiny spheres that burst into powdery puffs when touched. Their smallness allows them to inhabit microhabitats, cracks in bark, folds of leaves, crevices in moss. Within these hidden spaces, they create miniature landscapes, complete with microstructures, shaped by the same forces that sculpt their larger counterparts. Many mushrooms change shape as they mature. A young mushroom may begin as a tightly closed button, then unfold its cap slowly, revealing gills or pores hidden beneath. The unfolding resembles a slow blooming. Though mushrooms are not flowers, they follow their own pace, guided by internal pressures and external conditions. Sometimes the cap remains round, never fully opening. Sometimes it flattens into a broad disc. Sometimes it curls upward, exposing the underside completely. Each variation tells a story of moisture, light, time, and the quiet conversation between fungus and environment. Imagine standing in a meadow after rainfall. The grasses sway gently, and scattered among them, mushrooms rise like small sculptures. Some are red with white spots, bright and bold. Others are soft brown, blending into the soil. Some are translucent, nearly invisible until light passes through them. Their forms create a quiet diversity, each shape occupying its space without crowding, each pattern contributing to the landscape's quiet harmony. The strangest shapes often belong to fungi that use unusual strategies for dispersing spores. The stinkhorn family produces sculptures that seem almost alien. Tall columns, latticed cages, dripping caps scented to attract insects. These forms are startling at first glance, but when seen with calm curiosity, they reveal the ingenuity of evolution. Their shapes are not designed for beauty, yet they possess a strange elegance, a purposeful stillness. The jelly fungi, by contrast, look like soft ripples of amber or clear glass fixed onto logs. Their shapes shift with moisture, soft and pliable when wet, firm and brittle when dry. Holding one feels like touching the forest's memory of rain, a soft reminder of the ever-changing cycles of moisture and sun. As you breathe deeply and gently, let these images of mushrooms, their curves, their spirals, their delicate folds, settle into your thoughts. Their shapes remind us that life expresses itself in endless forms, each one shaped by its environment, its needs, its quiet relationship with the world. Mushrooms do not choose their shapes. They grow into them naturally, gracefully, without rush. In the same way, parts of your life take shape slowly, responding to subtle influences you may not notice until you pause and look closely. In the soft, patient emergence of these forms, the forest reveals one of its most soothing truths. Beauty grows quietly. Shapes appear not through force, but through gentle unfolding. And just like the mushrooms rising from damp earth, your own life can grow in ways that surprise you, strange, delicate, imperfect, yet deeply meaningful, shaped by the unseen forces guiding you through each moment. 15. The hidden lives of truffles beneath the forest floor. Beneath the quiet shade of the forest, far below the rustling leaves and the wandering paths of sunlight, a secret world unfolds in darkness. Here, under layers of soil, moss, and decaying leaves, truffles grow in silence. They do not rise above the surface like the mushrooms we often see. They remain hidden, nestled within the earth, like soft, rounded stones shaped by time. As you settle into a slow, gentle breath, imagine this underground world, dim, earthy, and peaceful, where truffles live their entire lives out of sight, forming connections that stretch through the soil like quiet threads of ancient memory. Truffles are a type of fungus, but unlike mushrooms that fruit above ground, they produce their bodies beneath the surface. They do not rely on the wind to carry their spores. Instead, they depend on animals, creatures with keen senses of smell to find them, unearth them, and unknowingly spread their spores across the forest. This reliance has shaped the truffle's evolution. Their aromas, rich and complex, are not meant for human delight, though humans have come to treasure them. These scents are signals, carefully crafted by nature to attract animals who wander the forest floor. In this underground ecosystem, fragrance becomes communication, a way for truffles to call out softly into the darkness. Imagine a small wild boar moving through a forest, its snout close to the earth, inhaling the deep scent of soil. Somewhere beneath its feet, a truffle releases aromatic compounds that drift upward through tiny spaces in the soil. These scents are earthy, nutty, sometimes sweet, sometimes musky, each one a quiet message meant to be found. When the boar uncovers the truffle and eats it, it helps disperse the fungal spores through the forest, completing a cycle that has continued for countless generations. In this way, the truffle and the animals that seek it are partners bound by mutual need, one offering nourishment, the other offering transportation. It is a relationship shaped by trust, formed across the slow rhythm of evolutionary time. Truffles are also partners to trees. They form intimate relationships with roots, sharing nutrients in a balanced exchange. The fungus wraps its delicate hyphae around the finest tips of a tree's roots, forming a structure that helps the tree absorb water and minerals more efficiently. In return, the tree shares sugars produced through photosynthesis food the truffle cannot create on its own. This mutual support forms one of the forest's quietest and most essential alliances. Beneath a towering oak or a slender hazel tree, beneath a grove of beeches or pines, these partnerships hum along in darkness, unseen yet vital. Truffles thrive because trees thrive. Trees thrive because truffles support them. Together, they form an underground harmony that shapes entire landscapes. As you breathe softly, imagine the delicate threads of mycelium spreading outward from a truffle, forming white, web-like networks that wind through the soil. These threads explore the earth gently, feeling for moisture, sensing minerals, reaching for the tree's roots. The soil is a rich mixture of textures, grains of sand, traces of ancient leaves, bits of bark worn smooth by time. Through these tiny spaces, the mycelium moves with slow persistence, adapting to the soil's subtle shifts. There is no rush in this movement. It unfolds at the pace of seasons, guided by the forest's quiet cycle. Truffle development is slow. It can take months, even years, for a truffle to mature fully. Throughout this time, it remains buried, protected by the soil, fed by its partner tree, shaped by the rhythm of rainfall and temperature. Its outer skin thickens, its inner tissue grows dense, and its aroma deepens into the complex scent that will eventually attract animals. If you could hold a mature truffle gently in your hand, you would feel its firm texture, its weight much greater than a mushroom of similar size. Inside, its flesh is marbled like patterns of frost on a window, unique to each species, formed by thin lines of sterile tissue dividing spore-bearing pockets. Even this internal design is quiet but purposeful, a structure optimized for spore release once the truffle is eaten. Imagine a forest after rain. The air is cool, the leaves glistening with droplets that slide down their surfaces. Beneath your feet, moisture seeps into the soil, awakening the sense of earth. In this softened environment, truffles begin to emit their aromatic signals more strongly, carried gently upward by the damp air. To an animal passing nearby, these scents are irresistible, a sign of nourishment hidden beneath the surface. The forest becomes a place of quiet seeking, where the underground and the above ground meet in a sensory conversation. Truffles vary widely in shape, color, and scent. Some are black and rough, others smooth and golden. Some carry deep, savory aromas, while others smell faintly of caramel, forest leaves, or warm soil. Each species has evolved to attract specific animals, using its scent as a guiding thread. These aromas are not simply pleasant, they are highly complex, made of dozens or even hundreds of compounds interacting in subtle ways. In this complexity, the forest tells stories of cooperation, of ancient partnerships, of life quietly seeking to continue itself. Humans discovered truffles thousands of years ago, guided first by animals who were drawn to their scents. Even now, truffle hunters rely on trained dogs or, in older traditions, pigs to locate these hidden fungi. But the truffle's purpose was never to be unearthed by human hands. Our appreciation is a byproduct of a far older relationship, one between fungus, animal, and tree. When humans lift a truffle from the soil, they are entering a conversation that has been unfolding long before human presence in the forest. Truffles also enrich the soil around them. Their mycelium binds particles together, improving structure and helping the earth retain moisture. They create small pockets of nutrients as they grow and eventually decay. These pockets support microbial life, seedling growth, and the resilience of the forest floor. Even after a truffle has been eaten and its spores dispersed, the benefits of its presence remain. Its threads leave behind pathways that other fungi, roots, and microorganisms can follow. Its influence extends far beyond its own lifespan, quietly supporting the continuity of the ecosystem. As you breathe in and out, slowly and calmly, imagine lying on the soft earth of a forest floor. Beneath you, the truffles rest in their hidden chambers, shaped by darkness, nourished by roots, connected by mycelial threads. Their presence is almost impossible to detect without the keen senses of animals or the careful searching of humans. And yet, they are essential. They are the forest's hidden jewels, not for their rarity, but for their quiet role in sustaining life. Truffles remind us that some of the most important processes in the world happen unseen. They unfold beneath the surface, without fanfare, without recognition. Their work is patient, persistent, and deeply intertwined with the life around them. Just as the truffle waits for the right moment to release its scent, parts of your own growth may wait quietly beneath the surface, developing slowly until conditions allow them to emerge gently into the light. In this way, truffles mirror the quiet potential within every living being, a reminder that even what remains hidden, silent, or slow can play a profound role in shaping the world. And as the forest rests around them, the truffles continue their ancient work, held softly by the earth, whispering their presence into the soil, into the roots, into the breath of the forest itself. 16. The gentle chemistry of earthy scents. If you have ever walked through a forest after rain, you may recall the scent that rises from the soil, a warm, comforting aroma that feels both ancient and familiar. It is the smell of leaves dissolving into earth, of moss soaking up moisture, of wood returning slowly to softness. And at the heart of this calming fragrance is the gentle chemistry of fungi. Mushrooms release compounds that contribute to the rich, grounding scent we recognize as earthy. As you settle into a slow, easy breath, imagine closing your eyes and inhaling the forest's quiet perfume, a scent shaped by the hidden work of fungal life. One of the most important compounds in this fragrance is called geosmin, a molecule produced by certain soil-dwelling organisms, including fungi. Geosmin carries the unmistakable smell of damp earth, petrichor, and freshly overturned soil. It is a scent so deeply woven into the human experience that even a trace of it can evoke memories of rainstorms, gardens, and quiet walks beneath trees. The human nose is extraordinarily sensitive to geosmin. We can detect it at concentrations so low that only a few molecules may drift through the air. This sensitivity is ancient, rooted in our evolutionary history, when early humans sought out fresh water sources, guided by this subtle scent. Today, though we may not rely on it for survival, the smell continues to soothe us, reminding us of nature's rhythms and the calm of rain-softened earth. Imagine kneeling beside a patch of forest floor where mushrooms have emerged after a spring storm. As you brush your fingers across the soil, a soft, earthy scent rises, warm and calming. This aroma is more than a simple smell. It is a chemical conversation between fungi and the environment, compounds carried on tiny gusts of air, drifting like invisible threads through the forest. Each mushroom contributes its own small breath to the atmosphere, enriching the forest's scent with subtle notes of spice, fruit, soil, or sweetness, depending on the species. Some mushrooms carry aromas that hint at their nutrients or habitats. The chanterelle, for example, has a soft, apricot tangent-like scent, a delicate fruitiness that drifts upward from its golden folds. The matsutake has a uniquely spicy, warm aroma, reminiscent of cinnamon and forest soil, combined into a single breath. Other fungi smell faintly of almonds, anise, or cedar wood. These scents are created by a complex combination of compounds, each crafted by the fungus for its own purposes, sometimes to deter insects, sometimes to attract animals, sometimes simply as a byproduct of its metabolic processes. As you breathe softly, imagine picking up a leaf littered with spores, not visible, but clinging to its surface like tiny droplets of possibility. The scent of the forest lingers on that leaf, shaped by the fungal life that moves beneath the soil. This aroma is not intense. It doesn't overwhelm. It arrives gently, like a memory unfolding from the deeper parts of the mind. It invites you to breathe more slowly, to settle more deeply into stillness, to let the quiet of the forest seep into your thoughts. The gentle chemistry of fungi is part of what makes decaying wood smell warm and comforting. When mycelium breaks down fallen logs, it releases compounds that mix with the resins and oils stored in the wood. The result is a scent that evokes campfires without flames, forests without wind, and time without urgency. Holding a piece of decaying wood in your hand feels like holding the memory of rain and sunlight, blended together into a soft, fragrant fragment. The wood is lighter than it once was, softened by fungal threads that have rearranged its fibers and released its stored scents into the air. Even edible mushrooms carry their own quiet perfumes. When you slice a fresh mushroom, a soft aroma rises, earthy, savory, slightly sweet. This scent hints at the mushroom's chemical composition, including amino acids, sugars, and organic molecules that contribute to flavors we associate with warmth and comfort. In cooking, these molecules transform into deeper aromas, releasing a richness that fills kitchens and dining rooms with a sense of nourishment. The sizzle of mushrooms in a pan releases a grounding scent, warm, earthy, familiar, reminding us of hearths, gatherings, and the simple pleasures of shared meals. Yet the chemistry of fungal scents goes beyond pleasure. For the fungi themselves, scent is a tool, a quiet method of communication. Some species release fragrances that attract insects to help disperse their spores. Others produce aromas that deter animals from eating them. Some even mimic scents that lure specific species, creating intricate ecological relationships. The smell of a mushroom is not random. It is shaped by needs, by environmental conditions, by the ancient logic of survival. Imagine a small mushroom releasing its scent into the evening air, a soft exhale rising from its cap. To a passing insect, that aroma signals nourishment. To the forest, it adds to the tapestry of scents carried on the breeze: pine resin, damp leaves, the sweetness of moss, the faint spice of bark warmed by sunlight. Together, these scents create an atmosphere that feels both alive and restful, a sensory world shaped by quiet interactions among plants, trees, fungi, and the slow cycles of decay and renewal. As you breathe in deeply, imagine walking barefoot across cool soil. The scent rises with each step, stirred by your movement. It feels grounding, as though the earth itself is speaking in a soft, steady tone. Fungal aromas remind us that life is constantly transforming: fallen leaves becoming soil, wood becoming nourishment for new growth, sunlight turning into sugars that pass through roots and mycelium. Each scent is a brief moment in this long cycle, captured in the air before drifting away. Mushrooms also absorb the scents of their surroundings, storing whispers of the landscapes they inhabit. A mushroom growing near pine trees may smell faintly of resin. One growing in damp moss may carry the cool scent of water and stone. In this way, mushrooms become storytellers of their environment, holding within their flesh the quiet signature of the forest's chemistry. As evening settles over the woodland, the scent of fungi often deepens. The cooling air slows evaporation, allowing earthy aromas to linger. In this twilight, the forest seems to breathe with you your inhale, drawing in the scent of damp soil, your exhale, returning warmth to the air. It is a shared rhythm, a gentle exchange, much like the chemical exchanges between roots and mycelium beneath the ground. Let your breath soften as you imagine this quiet world of scents, the warm aroma rising from a mossy log, the faint sweetness drifting from a golden chanterelle, the grounding smell of fresh earth released by fungal activity. These scents remind us that nature communicates not only through sight and sound, but through delicate chemical whispers carried on the breeze. And in this gentle chemistry, there is comfort. The earthy fragrance of fungi reconnects us to the ancient processes of the earth, reminding us that life moves in cycles, soft, slow, and steady. Just like the forest's scent, your own inner world carries memories, emotions, and quiet truths rising to the surface when you allow yourself to slow down. In the calm of this moment, let those scents settle within you, grounding your thoughts, soothing your senses, reminding you of the simple, enduring presence of the earth beneath your feet. 17. The slow erosion. How fungi help stones become soil. In the quiet places of the world, where mountains rise immovable and ancient against the sky, a process unfolds that is almost too slow to witness. Stones, seemingly eternal and unchanging, gradually soften and break down. They crumble into grains, then into dust, and eventually into the rich soil that nurtures forests, meadows, and gardens. And at the heart of this transformation, working patiently across centuries, are fungi. As you settle into a deep, gentle breath, imagine the vast stillness of a mountain slope. Now picture that stillness infused with the almost imperceptible activity of fungal threads weaving their way through cracks in the stone. Fungi are among the earliest and most persistent forces guiding the weathering of rock. Their mycelial threads extend into microscopic spaces, crevices so small they are invisible to the human eye. Within these cracks, the threads release organic acids that slowly dissolve minerals. This process does not happen quickly. It unfolds across decades, even centuries. Yet it is effective, carving pathways into the hardest surfaces. Over time, the stone's structure weakens, grains loosen, and the beginnings of soil form. The mountain, in its own timescale, begins to soften. Imagine a small patch of lichen clinging to a granite boulder. The lichen appears simple, a pale green or gray layer on the stone, but within its tissues, a partnership between fungi and algae is at work. The fungus anchors the lichen to the rock, protecting the photosynthetic partner within. As the fungus grows, it produces acids that etch the stone gently. Tiny fragments loosen. Over years, the lichen expands outward, its edges nudging new cracks into existence. On a human timescale, the change is invisible. But in the scale of geological time, the lichen becomes an artist sculpting the rock, creating small pockets of loosened material where dust, seeds, and moisture can gather. Picture a cliffside in the early morning light. Moisture from the night still clings to the rock face, creating a thin sheen that darkens its surface. In that moisture, fungal spores awaken and begin to grow, sending delicate hyphae into tiny pores in the stone. These threads are soft, almost silky in structure, yet they infiltrate even the smallest fractures. As they grow, they exert physical pressure on the stone, pushing outward gently. This pressure, though slight, accumulates over time, widening cracks and encouraging fragments to break loose. It is a slow, persistent process, like the steady movement of tree roots that eventually split concrete. As you breathe softly, imagine the invisible world inside a small fissure where fungal threads and mineral grains coexist. The fungus releases acids like oxalic acid, which binds to minerals in the stone, forming new crystalline compounds. These compounds expand and contract with moisture changes, further loosening the rock's structure. The mycelium continues to explore these spaces, weaving around mineral crystals, creating microhabitats where mosses and bacteria may eventually take root. The stone, once seemingly solid, becomes a dynamic environment shaped by the quiet persistence of fungal life. The transformation from stone to soil is not simply a breakdown, it is a creation. Fungi help produce the first thin layers of sediment where plants can eventually grow. These initial soil layers are soft, fragile, and shallow, a few millimeters thick. They form on cliffs, boulders, and rocky outcrops, becoming the cradle for the earliest pioneer species. Imagine a tiny seed landing in this thin layer, settling into a pocket of loosened minerals created by fungal activity. With rain and sunlight, the seed germinates, its young root reaching into the narrow space where fungal threads already reside. Immediately, a partnership forms. The fungus offers nutrients from the stone. The young plant provides sugars. Together, they strengthen the soil, creating a place where more life can take hold. In deserts, where rocks endure intense heat during the day and cool sharply at night, fungi help moderate these extremes. They colonize the underside of stones, forming biofilms that trap moisture and create microclimates. These films shield the rock surface from thermal stress, reducing cracking, while their biochemical activity slowly alters the rock's composition. Over time, these sheltered microhabitats become nurseries for other life bacteria, mosses, and eventually small plants. In this way, fungi help the desert breathe, transforming harsh conditions into pockets of possibility. Imagine standing at the base of an ancient mountain range. Its peaks have been shaped by wind, rain, and time, but its lower slopes are covered in soil that once was stone. Every handful of that soil contains traces of minerals freed by fungal activity. Each grain of sand, each tiny particle, tells a story of a stone slowly eroded by life. The soil supports towering forests now, their roots pulling water upward, their leaves capturing sunlight. Beneath them, fungi continue their work, breaking down old roots, fallen leaves, and, deeper still, the stones hiding in the earth. This cycle continues without interruption, each layer of soil enriched by the quiet labor of fungal threads. Even in colder climates, where rocks remain frozen for much of the year, fungi contribute to weathering. They remain dormant during winter, then awaken in brief summer windows, releasing acids and expanding their networks. Frost action, the expansion of water as it freezes, works alongside fungal growth. The threads penetrate cracks in warm months, and when winter arrives, the moisture around them freezes, widening the cracks further. Across cycles of freeze and thaw, stone becomes soil. Fungi guide the process, synchronizing with the seasons to help shape landscapes softly and steadily. As you inhale slowly, imagine holding a small stone warmed by sunlight. Within its microscopic pores, life is quietly at work. Fungal spores drift into these spaces, settle, and germinate. Their threads reach outward, sensing minerals, exploring surfaces, participating in the long dialogue between earth and life. The stone feels solid in your hand, yet it is always in the process of becoming something new, a reminder that nothing in nature is truly static. Fungi also transform stones indirectly by supporting plant life. As plants grow, their roots expand, applying pressure to rocks and contributing to mechanical weathering. The mycorrhizal fungi connected to these roots help absorb minerals released from the stone, incorporating them into the cycles of the forest. When plants eventually die, fungi decompose their roots, freeing the minerals once more. This layered exchange gradually changes the composition of the soil, enriching it with organic material and supporting deeper plant roots. Over centuries, this gradual interplay turns rocky terrain into fertile ground. Imagine a sapling growing on a rocky hillside. Its roots grip the stone tightly, guided by the mycelium that surrounds them. The fungus helps the roots absorb phosphorus, nitrogen, and trace minerals from the stone. In exchange, the sapling offers carbohydrates, supporting the fungus in its hidden work. The stone becomes part of the sapling's body, its trunk, its leaves, the tissues that will one day decompose and return nutrients to the soil. Through this exchange, stone becomes life, and life becomes soil. It is a seamless cycle, gentle and persistent. As evening settles over the landscape, you might feel the stillness of a place where stone meets earth. The air cools, the shadows lengthen, and the mountain seems timeless. Yet beneath the surface, fungi continue their patient labor. Their threads stretch through the mineral world, rearranging its structure one molecule at a time. Their quiet chemistry guides the transformation that allows forests to rise, ecosystems to flourish, and life to take root. Let your breath deepen as you imagine this slow erosion, not an act of destruction, but one of creation. The fungi work without recognition, without haste, and without expectation. They remind us that even the most seemingly permanent things can change, that softness can shape hardness, that patience can transform landscapes, and that life, in its quiet persistence, can carve new worlds from stone. 18. The first footsteps on land, how fungi helped life leave the sea. Long before forests unfurled their branches, before insects flickered through the air, before the first animals placed tentative steps upon solid ground, Earth was a world dominated by oceans. The continents, bare and silent, offered little shelter or nourishment. The rocks were hard, the soil non-existent, the atmosphere harsh. Nothing yet softened the land with green or shade. And yet, in this vast silence, fungi were preparing the way. As you settle into a slow, even breath, imagine this early planet wild, barren, windswept, and picture the delicate strands of fungal life reaching outward from the edges of shallow waters, exploring stone and sediment with patient curiosity. Fungi were among the first organisms to inhabit land. While early plants remained small and dependent on moist environments, fungi ventured farther, surviving on rocks exposed to sun and wind. Their mycelial threads crept into tiny cracks, releasing enzymes that dissolved minerals. As they grew, they broke down stone into the earliest forms of soil. In this way, fungi became pioneers, transforming lifeless rock into a foundation where future life could take hold. Their quiet labor prepared the land long before plants gained the complexity needed to thrive independently. Imagine the planet's surface during this ancient era. There are no forests, no grasses, no flowers, only smooth expanses of rock, scattered pools of water, and microbial mats clinging to shorelines. Against this stark backdrop, fungal filaments appear like faint silver threads. They spread slowly, seeking out minerals and moisture. Their bodies are soft compared to the hardness of stone, yet their persistence allows them to begin the long process of weathering the land. Every grain of newly formed sediment becomes a small triumph, a tiny contribution to the transformation that would shape Earth's ecosystems. As you breathe gently, imagine rain falling on these early landscapes. The water carries dissolved minerals across the surface, gathering in shallow puddles where fungal colonies take root. When the sun returns, its warmth causes the water to evaporate, concentrating nutrients and allowing the fungi to grow more vigorously. Across countless cycles of rain and sunlight, the fungi expand, slowly creating the first thin layers of fertile ground. These layers are fragile, easily disrupted by wind or drought, yet they accumulate over time. In these small patches of soil, the first land, plants' simple, moss-like organisms begin to grow. But these early plants faced immense challenges. Their roots were shallow, their tissues delicate, and the land harsh. Without support, they dried quickly, struggled to absorb nutrients, and often died after only short periods. It was in this moment that fungi and plants began forming partnerships that would change the course of evolution. Fungi wrapped their threads around the plant's young roots, offering minerals and water that the plants could not reach on their own. In return, the plants provided sugars produced through photosynthesis. This exchange allowed plants to grow taller, to explore deeper into the land, and to eventually transform the planet's barren surface into green expanses. Imagine one of these early partnerships, a simple plant with only a few branches, its roots thin and weak. Around those roots, fungal hyphae form a gentle embrace. Their presence stabilizes the plant, nourishing it through droughts and nutrient-poor conditions. Without these fungal partners, the plant would wither quickly beneath the unfiltered sunlight. But with the support of the fungus, it survives long enough to spread spores of its own, creating new life nearby. Over generations, these early plants evolve increased complexity, becoming stronger and more adaptable, guided by the steady presence of their fungal allies. This relationship, the mycorrhizal partnership, remains one of the most important biological alliances on Earth. Even today, the vast majority of plant species rely on fungi for survival. The roots of trees in dense forests, the grasses of open plains, the flowers in meadows, and the herbs in gardens all depend on fungal networks to supply essential minerals and support growth. The ancient bond formed between fungi and early plants expanded into a complex web of interdependence, shaping the evolution of terrestrial life in ways that still unfold around us. As you breathe softly, picture the land millions of years after those early fungi first explored it. Mosses now cover damp patches of soil. Simple plants begin to stretch upward, their forms modest but promising. With each passing generation, they spread farther inland, no longer confined to the edges of water. Fungi accompany them, enveloping their roots in quiet support. This joint migration across the continent becomes a slow but monumental journey, one that will eventually transform Earth's climate, atmosphere, and biodiversity. The presence of plants on land begins to change the world dramatically. As plants photosynthesize, they release oxygen, slowly increasing its concentration in the atmosphere. This new abundance of oxygen allows for more complex organisms to evolve, both on land and in water. The shade provided by early plant life creates microhabitats where insects and other small creatures can thrive. Soil thickens as fungal decay breaks down plant material, creating richer ground for future generations. What began as a barren landscape becomes, through the persistent activity of fungi and plants, a cradle for countless forms of life. Imagine standing on a hillside during this ancient period of transformation. The sky is hazy with volcanic gases, yet along the ground, small patches of green spread like delicate brushstrokes. The air carries the scent of damp stone and simple organic life. The fungi remain mostly invisible, working underground to prepare the land for further expansion. The plants that rely on them sway gently in the wind, their presence a quiet testament to the partnership that made their existence possible. Even when the land was still young, fungi formed towering structures called prototaxites, enormous trunk-like organisms that once stood up to 8 meters tall. These ancient fungal giants dominated the landscape long before trees existed. Their massive forms helped cycle nutrients, stabilize soil, and create environments where plants could flourish. For a time, they were the tallest living things on Earth, standing like silent monuments to the early colonization of land. These giants remind us that fungi were not merely companions to early plants, they were pioneers in their own right, shaping the world long before the forests we know today filled the continents. As you inhale slowly, imagine the long timeline that stretches behind us, millions of years of quiet collaboration between fungi and plants. Millions of years of slow transformation, from bare stone to fertile soil, from simple moss to towering forests. The land we walk upon carries the memory of these early partnerships. Every patch of soil, every tree root, every forest floor is shaped by the ancient bond between fungi and plant life. This story reveals a gentle truth. Great changes do not always come from dramatic moments. Sometimes they come from slow, persistent effort, from tiny threads weaving through stone, from delicate alliances forming in harsh environments, from small beginnings that accumulate over time. Just like the fungi that prepared the land for life, the quiet work you do within yourself, unseen by others, may be shaping a future that will one day unfold with strength and beauty. As you settle deeper into calm, let the image of the first footsteps on land, guided by fungi, supported by partnership, shaped by patience, remind you of your own capacity for steady growth. Transformation often begins in silence. Life takes hold one small step at a time, and in that gentle progression, new worlds are formed. 19. Drifting beyond Earth. The cosmic resilience of spores. In the vast darkness beyond our atmosphere, where sunlight turns sharp and cold, and silence stretches in all directions, life seems unlikely. Yet even in this realm, distant from forests, oceans, and the familiar rhythms of Earth, scientists have found that certain forms of life, especially fungal spores, possess a resilience that borders on the cosmic. They can drift through the upper atmosphere, survive exposure to radiation, endure extremes of cold and dryness, and remain viable far longer than most living things. As you ease into a slow, calming breath, imagine tiny spores floating at the edges of our planet, carried by currents that rise through the air like invisible stairways into the sky. Spores are some of the most durable structures on Earth. They are built for travel, for waiting, for surviving conditions far harsher than anything most organisms encounter. Their walls are thick and layered, designed to protect the delicate genetic material inside. Some spores contain pigments that shield them from ultraviolet radiation. Others produce chemicals that prevent their internal structures from freezing or collapsing. In every case, spores carry the essence of fungal life in its purest form: small, quiet, and remarkably persistent. Imagine the journey of a single spore. It begins in the gills of a mushroom, tucked beneath a cap that rises from the forest floor. A gentle breeze lifts it from its resting place, sending it upward in a slow, drifting spiral. It rises past leaves and branches, past the buzzing paths of insects, past the canopy of trees. Upward it goes, carried by warm currents that rise from sunlit earth. Most spores settle nearby, returning to the forest within minutes or hours. But a few continue their ascent, traveling farther than the mushroom that released them could ever reach. As you breathe softly, imagine the spore drifting into the upper atmosphere, where the air grows thin and cold. At this height, winds circle the globe, carrying particles across continents. The spore becomes part of this great atmospheric river, moving without effort, guided only by currents. It may remain here for days, weeks, or even months, drifting above storms, above mountains, above oceans. From this vantage, the world below becomes a shifting mosaic of clouds, land, and water, a sight the spore cannot perceive, yet one it travels across nonetheless. High-altitude spores are not unusual. Scientists regularly detect fungal spores in the stratosphere, at altitudes where temperatures plunge far below freezing and ultraviolet radiation is intense. Yet these spores survive. Their resilience expands our understanding of life's boundaries. It suggests that living things can endure far more than we once believed. Even in the cold, dry vacuum of near space, spores remain intact, waiting for a moment when they might settle again into a world where moisture and nutrients invite them to awaken. Imagine the spore drifting beyond the atmosphere entirely, an exceedingly rare journey, but one considered possible through volcanic eruptions or meteor impacts that blast particles into space. In the vacuum, there is no air to carry it, no warmth to protect it, no moisture to sustain it. Yet some spores survive the exposure to vacuum conditions in experiments. Their protective layers guard them like tiny shields, preserving the fragile genetic material within. They become seeds of potential, carried into an environment that seems utterly incompatible with life. This possibility has led scientists to wonder about panspermia, the idea that life might travel between planets, or even between star systems, riding on comets, meteors, or interstellar dust. While we cannot say for certain that spores have ever traveled such vast distances, their resilience makes the idea intriguing. Imagine a meteor carrying embedded fungal spores, drifting through space for millennia, eventually colliding with a young planet rich with oceans and energy. If even a single spore survived the journey and the impact, it could theoretically find a place to grow, beginning a new lineage of life. As you breathe gently, picture the quiet determination of these spores. They do not move with purpose. They do not seek anything. They simply exist, patient, dormant, and ready. They remind us that life, in its simplest forms, holds incredible strength. They teach us that survival does not always require complexity. Sometimes it requires stillness, endurance, and the ability to remain intact through long periods of uncertainty. Even within the boundaries of Earth, spores travel across vast distances that feel almost cosmic in scale. They drift from one continent to another, carried by upper atmospheric winds. They settle onto glaciers, deserts, oceans, and mountaintops. Some spores fall into the sea, where they rest on the surface until waves draw them downward. Others land on volcanic islands formed from fresh lava, becoming some of the first living arrivals on newly created land. Their journeys connect ecosystems across the planet, forming invisible pathways that link distant landscapes. Imagine a spore finally settling after months in the air. It lands on a quiet patch of soil at dawn. Moisture clings to the ground. The air is warm enough to soften its protective layers. Slowly, the spore awakens. Its outer shell cracks gently, and a thin thread emerges, the first hypha, stretching into the soil with quiet purpose. What once drifted high above the earth now becomes part of the forest floor, weaving into roots, stones, and decaying leaves. The journey ends, and the cycle of growth begins again. Some spores never travel far. They settle where they began, resting among fallen leaves or moss, and yet their resilience remains. They endure through seasons of drought, cold winters, and harsh winds. They wait for rain, for the warmth of spring, for the soft touch of the earth to call them into growth. Whether they travel across continents or remain close to home, their ability to persist through time is remarkable. As you inhale lightly, imagine the sky above the forest vast, shifting, filled with unseen currents. Countless spores drift through that space, carried upward from mushrooms, lichens, and molds. Some may rise again tomorrow. Some may settle before sunset. Others may drift for unimaginable distances. All of them carry quiet potential. They are reminders that life's reach extends far beyond what we can see. These spores also play subtle roles in Earth's atmosphere. Some act as nuclei, around which water droplets gather, helping clouds form. In this way, fungal spores influence weather patterns, rainfall, and the cycles of water that sustain ecosystems. A tiny spore drifting through the air might help create the raindrop that nourishes a future forest. In this connection, the sky and the soil become intertwined through the smallest of life forms. As you settle deeper into calm, imagine yourself lying under a twilight sky. Above you, stars begin to appear, faint and distant. Between them lies the dark expanse of space, silent, vast, and timeless. And drifting somewhere in that upper atmosphere, perhaps rising on a warm current from a forest far away, a single spore floats in the quiet air. It is fragile, yet resilient. Alone, yet part of a greater cycle. It moves without fear, carried by forces beyond its understanding, trusting in the potential held within its tiny, patient form. Let that image remind you that even the smallest things can travel far, that resilience does not always require strength, that life, in its simplest expression, has a way of enduring across time and space. And just as spores drift through the sky, held softly by invisible currents, you too are supported by quiet forces, memories, dreams, relationships, and hopes gently carrying you through the vastness of your own journey. 20. The unseen weavers. How fungi hold the living world together. If you lie quietly in a forest and let your attention soften, you may begin to feel the gentle pulse of life moving through every leaf, every blade of grass, every breath of wind. Beneath that stillness is an even deeper rhythm, a quiet weaving that holds the living world together. This weaving is done by fungi, whose threads run like soft, unseen currents through soil, wood, and stone. They connect trees to one another, return nutrients to the earth, help plants communicate, and guide ecosystems through cycles of growth and renewal. As you settle into a slow, grounding breath, imagine the forest not as separate trees and plants, but as a single, interconnected body, and imagine the fungi beneath it as the threads that join everything into one living whole. Mycelium is the hidden architecture of this unity. It stretches through the soil in vast networks, thin as gossamer, yet strong enough to support entire ecosystems. These networks connect roots from different species, even from far distant families of plants, allowing them to share nutrients and warnings. A tall, mature tree may send extra sugars through the network to support a shaded sapling. A plant under attack by insects may share chemical messages, prompting its neighbors to strengthen their defenses. Each action is not a command, but a whisper, a subtle transfer of information through fungal threads that listen, respond, and guide without ever being seen. Imagine the forest floor just after rain. Leaves glisten with droplets, the air carries the scent of damp soil, and birds call softly from the canopy. Beneath your feet, the mycelium awakens, swelling with moisture. It moves gently through the soil, exploring new pockets of nutrients, strengthening connections with nearby roots. Its presence is quiet. It does not disturb the earth or reshape it with force. Instead, it slips through the smallest spaces, weaving itself into the places where life needs it most. This weaving creates an underground network so expansive that a single fungal organism may spread across acres, sometimes even miles. In some forests, these enormous mycelial beings have lived for centuries, guiding the flow of nutrients through entire landscapes. Their longevity allows them to hold the memory of the terrain, where moisture gathers after storms, where minerals lie hidden, where roots struggle for space. Through these memories, they support new generations of plants, offering wisdom shaped by time and experience. As you breathe slowly, imagine this ancient memory as a soft glow beneath the ground, a light not seen by the eye, but felt through the quiet interactions of living things. Each hypha, each branching thread, carries a spark of this knowledge, responding to the needs of the moment while drawing upon the patterns of the past. In this way, the mycelial network becomes the quiet mentor of the ecosystem, guiding its balance and resilience. Nutrient cycling is one of the most profound ways fungi hold the world together. When leaves fall in autumn, when trees shed branches, when animals complete their life cycles, fungi begin their slow work of decomposition. They break down tissues that would otherwise remain locked away, releasing carbon, nitrogen, and minerals back into the soil. Without fungi, forests would drown in their own debris. The nutrients necessary for new growth would remain out of reach, but through the patient chemistry of fungal enzymes, life is returned to the soil, ready to nourish the next generation. Imagine a fallen tree lying on the forest floor. Its bark is rough, its wood weathered, its presence a reminder of seasons long past. Slowly, white threads of mycelium creep across its surface, softening the edges, transforming the solid wood into a moist environment where insects, mosses, and small plants can thrive. Over years, the tree becomes part of the forest floor, its nutrients woven into the bodies of new plants that rise in its place. Through fungi, endings become beginnings. Loss becomes renewal. This process unfolds everywhere, in forests, grasslands, wetlands, and even deserts. Wherever life exists, fungi help sustain its continuity. They turn death into nourishment, decay into foundation, darkness into possibility. They are the alchemists of the natural world, transforming what has fallen into what will rise again. As you breathe gently, imagine this transformation unfolding in a soft, cyclical rhythm. Leaves fall, fungi awaken, threads explore, molecules shift, soil enriches, seeds sprout, trees grow. Then eventually, those trees fall, and the cycle begins anew. It is a rhythm without beginning or end, carried forward by the patient work of fungal networks beneath the surface of life. Fungi also shape ecosystems by forming webs of cooperation. They help plants collaborate rather than compete, redistributing resources in ways that promote balance. A tree in full sunlight may share nutrients with its shaded neighbors. A plant struggling in poor soil may receive minerals gathered by fungi from faraway patches of earth. These exchanges create a sense of community within ecosystems, where survival is supported by connection rather than isolation. Imagine standing at the edge of a clearing as sunlight filters through the canopy. The trees vary in size and age, some towering and ancient, others young and slender. Beneath them, the mycelium creates a web linking every root, every stem, every patch of moss. This web ensures that no plant stands entirely alone. Each is part of a greater whole, supported by the patient, steady presence of the fungal network. Even animals participate in this connected world. Tiny creatures feed on fungal fruiting bodies, dispersing spores through forests and meadows. Larger animals disturb the soil as they dig, opening pathways for mycelium to spread. Birds gather fungal material to line their nests, unknowingly transporting spores to new places. In this way, fungi quietly weave animals into the broader fabric of the ecosystem, making them partners in the ongoing cycle of growth and renewal. As night falls over the forest, the mycelium continues its work. The world grows still above ground, but beneath the surface, life pulses softly. Nutrients shift, threads expand, signals pass gently from root to root. The forest breathes in slow, harmonious unity. To lie on the forest floor during this time is to feel the quiet heartbeat of the world, a rhythm shaped by countless fungal threads that bind the living earth into one interconnected being. As you settle deeper into this moment, let the image of the unseen weavers remind you of your own interconnectedness. Just as the forest is held together by fungal networks, your life is supported by relationships, memories, experiences, and the countless quiet moments that shape who you are. Many of these connections are invisible, yet they form the foundation of your strength. They guide you through cycles of change, offer resilience during difficult seasons, and help you grow when conditions are right. Fungi teach us that connection is not always visible. It can be soft, subtle, and deeply rooted. They remind us that renewal is always possible, even when the surface appears still. And they show us that the world thrives not because of isolated effort, but because of the countless threads that hold everything together. In this gentle truth, you can rest. You are part of a larger whole, connected, supported, and woven into the quiet tapestry of life.